What's up, everybody? Floetic here with a very special Dice Lemons with a very special panel. Usually we talk to DJs and just things that they're going through, but since we're going through, a different era right now in America, I decided to ask some of my friends and peers to join me on this call, and we're going to do a deep dive on some real topics. So let's introduce who we have now. Let's start with Riaz, and then we'll move on to Nate, Marlon, April, Joss, Akio, and Phil. So let's get to it.
What's up, guys? I'm Riaz. I'm a first-generation Canadian. For the past 20 years, I've been involved in the hospitality industry as an entrepreneur and as a sales and marketing guy for Blueprint.
Nice.
All right. What's going on, everybody? I'm Nate Sabine. I am the Director of Business Development over at Blueprint, but I've been around for 25 years in the city in hospitality, music, skateboarding, fashion, all that sort of stuff. And that's me.
What's up, everybody? My name is Marlon English, J English, some people say. I've been in the scene for 25 plus years. DJ, I did a lot of other things before that. Currently, I am one of the founders of SJS. I'm also the general manager over at the Parlor Restaurants. Go get a pizza. Other than that, yeah, I'm just a dude.
Hey y'all, my name's April Yau. I am from Vancouver originally, parents from Hong Kong. I moved to New York about 3.5 years ago to run the New York operations of a marketing agency. While I normally live in New York, I'm currently residing in California for the past couple months while I ride out this wave of COVID. Recent events in the US have been very eye-opening, so really excited to have this conversation today.
Awesome. What's up, team? My name is Joss Biggins. I am a project lead over at Self-Hired, which is a content creation studio, and the host of the Think Space podcast. But during the daytime, I throw a suit on, and I'm an investment advisor, and I specialize in socially responsible investment here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia.
Am I next?
Yes.
I didn't write it down.
But that was so flawless to that point.
I mean, there's only two people.
There's always one, right?
And I said Flipout's last, so.
I'm hungover. It was my birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My name's
Birthday
Akio Tyler.
wishes.
I'm one of the partners at Safe and Sound Entertainment. Also started a podcast with Nolan Prasad called PNC. Half black, half Japanese. So I used to live in the States as well. So I kind of have a little bit of a perspective on, both of the Canadian side of things and the American side of things as a kind of a younger guy. So I'm looking forward to getting into it a little bit more.
What's up? My name is Flipout. That's my DJ name. My name is Philip. I'm a DJ. I've been a DJ since 1987, since I was a teenager. And that's all I've done forever. Done some acting, done some whatever stuff, but I am fully immersed in hip hop.
Sick.
And you were a teenager in 1987?
Yeah, motherfucker. I was 13. I've known Marlon since that time, actually.
I was only 10, by the way, so.
Well, maybe. No, you were.
Okay, maybe
okay. And just not to just jump into things, but that guy right there, Marlon J English, is a person who being friends with him has informed me, is a big part of how much I seek and I try to understand, and I can recognize what's going on about what we're about to get into. So props to Marlon.
Before we get too deep into it, I just want to ask you guys, how's everyone's mental health, physical health? How's everybody doing? Because prior to all this going on, there was COVID-19, which, stopped the world, put the world on pause. So how's everybody doing? Let's go in the same order. Let's just keep it simple.
I'm feeling good, man. I mean, the COVID thing, it did some crazy shit to our industry. A lot of us are in the hospitality industry, and we're all kind of recovering and surviving from all that. But personally, I feel good. I've put a little break to all the booze and stuff, and got my mind right, got my health well. So I feel good.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, with everything going on the last week or so, 10 days in the States, I'm feeling pretty raw and disturbed, and not because any of it is a surprise because it's nothing new, unfortunately. But just brought to the surface, and with everything else, with COVID going on, and then with everything going on in Hong Kong, and it just feels like the world is convulsing a little bit. It's, you know, it's like we're just all on this ride that we didn't necessarily sign up for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of how I'm feeling. I'm a little settled more today, but this weekend was rugged.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I've maintained my dad bod. I don't work out like Akio does. That guy's crazy. I've been trying to follow his workouts to be like, yo, I got my COVID body, but that lasted one day and I gave up. Mentally, though, with everything that's going on, pretty beat down. I think, I mean, it's, anyway, I don't want to get too deep into it already because we'll get deep into it, but there's definitely, it's a time and it's a place and it's now. So, yeah. I mean, we're all hurting, and that's why I think we're here. So, yeah, anyway. Dad bod 101, though. Come see me.
I don't know, man.
I think overall for me, I mean, I can't complain. Health-wise, I'm probably in the best shape I've ever been since COVID started. I made a strong commitment to my health because there's so many things that you can't control out there. So I was focusing on what I can, which is my health and what I put into my body and my fitness. Mm-hmm. So I'm really happy with the progress there. But mentally, yeah, to be honest, initially it was really challenging. We had to lay off about 20% of our staff. Had to completely reorganize the company that I work for and had a completely new team. Mm-hmm. The people we had to lay off, you know, it was just really, really challenging. But since then, it kind of got some normality. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, all the recent events in this past weekend, which hit really close to home. I know we're getting into it, but moving out of Vancouver and being in New York and just having so much more exposure to different types of people and lives and cultures and everything. Yeah, it was a tough weekend. So I can only imagine for those who are part of the community that have, like you were saying, you know, has come up to the surface and kind of reopening up those wounds again that you've been suffering for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to like kind of build on what April was saying, yeah, like I'm probably in the best shape of my life as well. Like just kind of when things get rough, I lean into physical fitness. That's my therapy. That's my therapist. And so, I mean, things have been absolutely ridiculous since February, and it's been a complete roller coaster ride. And every time these things kind of come around, I'm always just like, okay, let's lean into meditation. Let's lean into physical fitness. Let's lean into journaling and just like calm, like this monkey mind that I think we all have kind of going on. And whenever things get tough, I'm always like, all right, how do I get the hell out of my stupid monkey mind and really, you know, become more present, more grounded so I can make rational decisions? Because the last thing the world needs right now is more irrational decisions. How do we, you know, lead with empathy and have a head on our shoulders, man? So I'm in the eye of the storm. I feel like trying to remain calm and digest things and be empathetic, sympathetic, while not being reactive. And that's kind of been my strategy all of 2020.
Mm-hmm. Physically, I think I'm doing pretty well. I have a lot of time to kind of do my own thing and do my workouts and kind of stay in shape. Mentally and emotionally, it's kind of been up and down. Obviously, you know, we had to lay off a bunch of people as well. And with all this new stuff going on down south, it's really eye-opening. It's a little, it's really hard to describe because sometimes I'll see actually what's happening with everything, and then I'll see people post on social media, and some of the things that people are posting kind of rub me the wrong way. And it's like, I feel a lot of people are trying to meet hate with hate, and I'm not sure that's really the way we're going to get to where we need to be. So that's one thing I really kind of wanted to obviously talk about later, but that's the one thing I've been struggling with the most.
Physically, I've been fine. I haven't really upped my my workout at all. I tried to kind of get into it. My girlfriend is kind of like you, April. She's like doing like so much home workouts and finding ways to do it and like doing it with her friends and stuff, which is looks super therapeutic. But I haven't been doing that. I did figure out that I definitely am a social drinker because I don't really feel like getting hammered at my house by myself, just only when I'm out DJing. So I don't know if I'm a social drinker or if it's like an anxiety thing when I'm in public, because, you know, I'm not sure which one it is. And mentally, I mean, just day by day, it's just one fucking day at a time. I literally have, you know, I'm in the same boat, I guess, as everybody, I guess. There's no, like, the main industry that I'm part of is not going to be around for the rest of the year. Luckily, I still have my radio gig, which gives me just enough income for me not to be eligible for curb. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, just day by day, you know, it's been fucked up, but I tried to stay calm. I also have elderly parents. My parents are like in their late 70s, so I haven't been able to touch them. And I can't till when? Yeah. I don't fucking know. Like, till when? I have, you know, my sister is works in social work, and my brother-in-law works in social work. So my family bubble is kind of like, I don't know. So it's, and everything on top of everything on top of everything on top of everything, you know, I don't know.
It's piling up. It's
not doing well. I wouldn't say I'm doing good.
I hear that. Well, let's, sorry to hear that, Phil. Me, how am I doing? Yeah, I mean, I think we're all sharing the same sentiment of, like, it's just, it's a gray area. Like, the world is literally imploding on so many different angles, right? And there's only so much that I can do to help people, but it's like, at the same time, if this happens long term, like, I'm going to need some help too, financially, right? So it's just a gray area. Right now, like, luckily, I have my lady, I have my family, like, we're still great communication and whatnot. So prior to what's going on in the States, I would say mentally I'm all right. But this week has definitely been trying, to say the least, right? But this is why I wanted to have this conversation with this panel, because we all come from different backgrounds. For the most part, we're from Vancouver. And I just wanted to talk and share some stories and see if there's anything that we could do to help ourselves and to help the community that we're a part of, right? So let's jump right into it. Let's start with Riaz. You talk about your background. Like, you grew up in Vancouver for the most part, right? Vancouver and Surrey, Burnaby. Have you seen or been a part of or were on the other side of racism in Vancouver?
I mean, to be honest, like, growing up as a first-generation Canadian, like, I mean, my parents are immigrants and stuff like that, and I've kind of dealt with racism my entire life. It was kind of like my parents moving here and raising us as children always cemented in our head that because of our color, we always have to work twice as hard to do everything. It was just like, it wasn't about, like, let's just say what's happening with the cops and stuff. And to them, it was just, you're a person of color. You need to work twice as hard. You have to do everything twice as difficult to get noticed, to get by in life, to succeed. And that was eye-opening, just being, because as a kid growing up, you're just like, oh, everyone's the same. But then as you get older, you get to notice all the things that it does affect. I moved to Surrey, funny, because me and Flo went to the same high school, but I obviously graduated way ahead of him. But I grew up way.
Yeah. Make that clear.
Yeah. So, but when
sensitive. Come on, guys.
Yeah, but when I got to Surrey, it was the tail end of the race wars, literally. There was a huge influx of South American and South Asians into Surrey. I mean, there was tons, and white people became the minority. And I saw there was just fights and racism. Like, it was nuts, like, just racial clashing, like, on a daily basis in our high school. Our high school was one of the first places to have a constable Canada-wide.
Wow.
Yeah, shit was super real. Like, and we saw it from both angles. I mean, the white kids were getting beaten up for no reason. We were getting beaten up for no reason. It was like on the wrong block wherever you were. And like, school was supposed to be like a safe haven for a lot of people. And it was crazy. But luckily, like I said, I came in towards the tail end, and a lot of the friends that I grew up with, we're still friends now. It was a group of friends that were all different colors, different backgrounds, and we created something. It was like we were one of the first cliques, I would say, in our high school to like be all multiracial, and we've kept being friends ever since. But like, I mean, just seeing racism firsthand and those racial wars, like it was nuts. And then growing up then now and just seeing for work, for jobs, and just seeing all the things that like people of color have to deal with. I mean, I've had my fair share of stories with the police as well. Just for getting pulled over. It's like, oh, you're a young kid, you have a nice car, you're a person of color, what's up with this? And just dealing with that and shit. So yeah, no, I that's kind of what I've seen. So
Nate?
Yeah, my experience growing up, I grew up in a small town in northern BC called Terrace. I was there from 78 when I was a couple years old till 93 when I graduated. I moved here actually early 94. And it was, you know, there were a handful, and when I say handful, I mean like 5 or 6 other Black or interracial families. My father's from Barbados, and my mom was, her dad was directly from Norway, and her mom was just like 20th generation Canadian. Like my photos of my ancestors on my mom's side, I have like 6 guns. Like they're fucking cowboys and shit. So it was like a crazy mix, and it was a crazy place to grow up, because growing up in a place like that in the 80s where, you know, the economy was booming because of forestry and fishing and all these things, and Terrace is like a little hub city, so everyone goes through there. And we were up there because my dad was commissioned to set up a drug and alcohol counseling center because things were so out of control. Guys go out in the bush for 2 weeks, come back, just snort a bunch of coke and get drunk and beat their wives and go back out to the bush. So it wasn't a situation that he anticipated, and it was like it was what people call now like microaggression. So it's in a lot of reflection that I see like, oh, that's why I couldn't hang out with that kid, or that's why I wasn't, you know, allowed to go to this birthday party or do whatever because the parents were racist. But I didn't really realize it at the time. Most of the racism that I witnessed myself was against Native people, because the indigenous population up there is big. There's lots of reservations. And in my direct crew, I had it was a couple white dudes, myself, and a couple Native dudes. And it was a lot of against South Asians and East Indian people as well. It was, and I think the only reason that there wasn't more direct racism against Black people or against myself was because we were so underrepresented. But yeah, it was like, you name it, even up there, just so that like police, this, that, and the other thing. When I moved down here, it was more of just, I don't know. I couldn't say that I've ever like not gotten a gig or not, you know what I'm saying? Like nothing that crazy. Like the only time I was ever called a nigger to my face was a little girl when I was in grade 5, and this little girl in grade 4 just came up to me and just said that like she was just trying it out. You know what I mean? So down here, it's not been that crazy, but there are things, you know, like I was driving back from Faded in the Park last year, and I was dead sober, and it was me and my buddy Saul, who's like sitting right behind me, and he's the same. He's half Black, green eyes, whatever. And then my 2 white friends on the other side of the car, and there was a roadblock because they knew Faded was going on. And so I see the roadblock, and I'm not sweating because I'm sober. They're all wasted. And I go, hold on, guys, it's going to be a few minutes. And my white friends start laughing. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, I'm like, no, just watch. I mean, Saul are like unbelieving that they don't think that we're going to get pulled over, because it wouldn't happen to them. Sure enough, we get pulled over, get the whole thing, you know. And Rio, remember when we were at that festival in Kelowna, and it was like, how many, you got ganked hard, but like how many times did we have to pull out our ID for a gang squad when there's like tattooed fucking juice monkey white boys all over the place?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But me and you got singled out, and you got singled out hard. Yeah, sorry, I kind of lost track.
It's there. All good, man.
It's all good. Shit ain't changed.
Marlon, before you start, is everybody on the gallery view on the Zoom call so you can see everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, sorry.
I hit it. Oh,
let
there
me
it
just
is.
say-
It's just
That's
better. It's
gallery
just
view.
better so you can see everybody.
Hey, that guy.
let me tell you the main thing about gallery view. It's so
Uh-oh.
you see yourself, so you don't pick your nose and act fucking weird. That's the
Facts.
main reason.
Yes.
Like, because if you're just watching someone, you're like watching TV, you start picking your nose and doing weird shit. So this is for your own safety.
It doesn't block you when you're not talking?
No, you just, this is what it is.
Oh, I've been picking my nose.
Yeah, so all that weird
Tip
shit you
of
were
the
doing,
day.
it's recorded, bro.
Fuck. Damn.
Can we start over?
Yeah.
Can we start over or
Yeah,
no?
yeah. Guys, call back in 5 minutes.
Perfect.
All right, Marlon, you're up.
My roots are, my dad's from Trinidad. He moved here when he was 17 as a young lad. Or, sorry, 18. Yeah, 18, 17. To pursue a better life with his brother. And then my mom's Polish and French, French Ukrainian. It's the whole thing. So I've got a black father and a white mother. Yes, being light skinned. I don't know. Some people always used to say, "Oh, you don't have it this bad," but I couldn't walk into a village of KKK and they would go, "Oh, you're half white. You're good. You got a pass. Half of you at least." I got a black nose. I got black lips. Big hands and big feet. So, I mean, intimidate. I'm just kidding.
You're such a fucking asshole.
No, but it's I moved here from Edmonton when I was 9. My mom was a single mom. She moved us here, my sister and myself. And I moved to the east side. Charles Dickens Annex was a school that I went to. Phil knows a lot of people that went there as well. I went to school with Chemo. Chemo was older than me. Romeo, I think, went there for a minute. There was a bunch of everybody, and that was probably the hardest school I'd ever been to in my life. It literally was like jail. There was teachers getting stabbed by pencils, and it was insane. And this is a grade 3 going to grade 5. A friend of mine got caught joyriding a car. I think my mom got really scared about that, and she was like, and this is when we're in grade 5. So she moved us out of the area to Marple area. I went to David Lloyd George for a bit. And then she didn't like that either because there was a lot of, I don't know, race. And then I ended up moving to the west side because I thought the west side would be better, but all my friends were in the east side anyway. So I wasn't, whatever, still around a lot of black kids and whatever. The pains of being a young black kid, I've been called the N-word I couldn't count, and I couldn't tell you how many times. Just by random people. I mean, bottom line, 2 weeks ago, I had a guy turning and I was like, honked at him, and he literally reached out his window and was like, "Fuck you," the word. And I ended up, I drive a little Hyundai now because the reason why I got rid of my Jeep SRT was I got pulled over last year, for instance, 28 times. And every time was, you look like a mid-level drug dealer. I've got tattoos, so they see that, but again, if I'm driving my Jeep, I mean, why are they pulling me over? I don't know. It is what it is. The last time I got pulled over in my Jeep was basically because he said he ran my tags, and the name that came up, which was my name, he said I was not the owner of the vehicle. And I explained to him, yes, I was. And then finally he walked away and he said, no, the guy that owns this vehicle has warrants, which I don't. Anyway, so yeah, I've dealt with it, been around it from a young age to now. Just even present. So I don't know. Gotta stop. I mean, when I was young, I've had friends that would call me the N-word and I would fight them. Like I was on Broadway one time and my friend got mad at me and called me the N-word, and I basically kicked his ass on Broadway. And I had an old guy, I remember an old Greek guy pull me off of actually in front of Bill and Chris old, the billiards down on Broadway in Elma area there. And I was never friends with this kid again because of it. So, yeah.
Cool.
Anyway.
Wow. Thanks for sharing. I'm similar to Riaz. I'm first generation in Canada. My parents immigrated from Hong Kong when was that? The early 70s with like no money and wanted to find a better life. I thank them every day. I thank my mom every day for being born in Canada because, you know, it's such a different world being in Hong Kong. Especially right now. I grew up in Richmond, so I see it as a good thing because at that time, there was a lot of representation of people that looked like me in the schools. So I think I was very lucky for not experiencing any racism because a lot of people just looked like me. It was mostly Asian people. I think being in Vancouver, because I'm one of the three main ethnicities that you see, which is, white, South Asian, and Chinese, I didn't get to experience much racism at all, actually. And I didn't actually realize there was this racism until I left Vancouver. After speaking to friends who don't look like me, or speaking to friends who are Black or half Black or anyone that looks just different than those three, they're sharing their stories. And yeah, I was completely surprised by it because I guess I just lived in this sheltered little bubble of Vancouver, Richmond, where I worked. Was very, like, a lot of people that looked like me. I worked in hospitality, I worked at Earl's. So there was white and Asian and East Indian, and that was it. And so in my own little bubble, everything kind of seemed copacetic. I do realize that when I was younger, now reflecting, looking back and as an adult, I definitely wanted to be white though, because you see everything in the movies, you see the cool stuff, like Asians are kind of stereotyped as like the nerds, and we're smart and good at math and good at science and all those things, and those are, luckily for me, more positive type of stereotypes, except of course COVID. But it's interesting as you look back and as you look at culture, that what cultures people want to become because of what they see. I was called a banana, the whitewashed Asian, Western Asian, whatever. And it wasn't only until I was an adult that I started to explore my heritage. And yeah, I think in terms of privilege, through all this stuff that has been happening, I've been realizing that a lot, that while I am a person of color and a woman, I've been given the good fortune of having the skin color that I have and not needing to be scared for my life and all the other kind of pieces of adversity that people go through. I'm really, really fortunate. I grew up in a family of 4 kids. My dad passed away when I was quite young. So my single mom of 4 kids, all under the age of 17, like, shit was hard. We had to earn everything that we had. I had a job at 14 and paid for everything since I was then. So since I was that age, and similar to Riaz, I was always taught that because we're immigrants, we got to work as more harder than everyone else because we got to prove ourselves. So I think on my end, I just thank my mom for teaching me those things and recognizing that everyone is equal, because even in the Asian culture, men and women are treated very differently. So for me, that's a different lens. And I had to always excel in my mind more than others to prove that I deserved what I got. So yeah, I think on the privilege front, definitely recognizing a lot of that, especially with the recent events.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, April. Yeah, peeps, let's not get it twisted. I'm a white, straight male. And being, I know, cat's out the bag. It's so comical now seeing all these white people being like, what do I do? I'm being targeted and people are calling me out. It's like, oh, it's uncomfortable to be a white person for the first time ever. That's funny. But I'm not gonna lie, like, that's 100%. Now you need to have an opinion on these things. You need to be educated on these things. You have a responsibility now. And yeah, there's a bit of like, oh man, I really better do my research and whatnot. But in terms of my heritage, and listen, I had a draft dodger dad. I'm the last of 5 kids. You have 5 different kids of 5 different women. Yamu as his last. My mom was a runaway, dropped out in the 9th grade. They all ended up on this small little Gulf island on the west coast of Canada. And I popped out. And so while I have no idea what it means to experience discrimination growing up, I do know what it means to be a second-class citizen and to be treated as such, right? Whether it's welfare checks or food baskets or, I actually ended up going into foster care, those types of things. If I can draw a parallel between being a super privileged white guy and someone who isn't in that situation, is when you're a second-class citizen, and when you feel like a second-class citizen, that comes off in everything that you do. And you have to deal with imposter syndrome constantly, right? Everyone on this call is successful in one regard or another. And everyone in this call, I don't know if we were supposed to be successful. I don't know if the world looked at us and go, yeah, that there's a trust fund kid, they're going to be successful. Like we're all standouts in one way or another, and it's like that affects you in different ways. That is a level of systematic oppression of being like, yeah, you feel something else because you don't belong here. And I can't even say that I felt that on any level comparatively, but I do know what it's like to be poor. And I do know that, the only experience, to your actual question, Jay, is, I mean, I went to, I spent some time in Haiti. I spent, gone out there a couple times and done some work out there. And they hate white people out there. Or at least they hated us. I went down with, I'm not religious, so I was not with a faith group or anything like that. And we would, just ride on the back of like taps and these like, trucks that everyone hops on, goes to town, and we would hop on top because if we were in the bottom, we'd get robbed. And just like going through different towns and whatnot, and just like have people throw rocks at you and shit, or like call you out, Blanco, or whatever it may be, because they've never seen a white person, or they hate white people because they have two ideas of white people. Number one, either they're a missionary and they're coming down to convert them. And if you don't convert to Christianity, we're not giving you food, we're not shelter, or they're slave masters. And I don't know how much the audience knows about Haiti, but it was one of the first, colonized places to actually rise up, revolt, and kill off all their masters. They don't like white people there. And we're just down there trying to help, trying to donate, with no strings attached. And it's like going through, riding on the back of those buses, or just being in towns and whatever it may be, and like people looking at you like they're really trying to rob you, they're really trying to kidnap you, and being down there with not a group of white people, just me and my Haitian guys, and it's like I can when receiving that energy and that hate, what's a white guy supposed to do? I'm just gonna sit there and be like, I'm not mad. It's like, of course you're mad, of course. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of the situation that we're in now today as a society, where, white people need to like sit the fuck down and understand what's going on. And like pleading ignorance is no longer a card. And this shit's right in your face now. And everyone is uncomfortable with it being right in your face. Too bad. Like too fucking bad. Anyway, so it is what it is. And I'm grateful for my experience. A lot of gratitude for me growing up. And, I hope that somehow, like, just to end this whole thing is like growing up, my experience was, I played basketball, and my other best friends, so I had two best friends. One was black, one was from Thailand. And no one would ever fuck with me because I was hanging out with those people. And it's like, that was my only experience right there. And that's the first time I learned, oh shit, people look at you different because of your skin color. The second time I learned that was when I actually got into wealth management, and I saw how much of an old white boys club this is. And I saw how I was granted opportunities other people weren't. I was given shots other people weren't. And so seeing it on a childhood level and then seeing it on a professional, systematic level is extremely eye-opening. And so I'm just here to learn and gain different perspectives and share a little bit of mine.
To piggyback up what Josh was just saying, I really think it's important that we recognize that racism isn't a uniquely white person thing. Like, well, 'cause I went to school in the States for, I don't know, from like 4 years old to 12 years old, and I'm half Japanese, half black. And the black community didn't really accept me because I'm light skinned, like Marlon and like Nate, and I don't really look Japanese at all. So that community didn't really embrace me too much either. So, and I went to the public school system out of New York, which is just a melting pot of everything. So I'm, people are calling me a jigger, like from like both sides of it. And like, to be honest, I don't really remember any white people being that fucked up to me back in the day. But there was black people and Asians that weren't, because I was kind of riding that fence. And then when I first remember experiencing like racism towards me from a white person was when I got sent away to school out here, boarding school on the island. There was a play or something that I was in, and there was a scene where someone like broke an egg on my head or something, and at an assembly, the teacher was talking about it. And I remember I was in grade 9, and a guy behind me was like grade 11 or 12 on the first team rugby team. So a pretty big deal in my eyes. When I was 13, 14 years old, he like whispers up behind me in the assembly, and he's like, "You think you're funny, nigger?" And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like I had no, like that was the first time I'd ever had something that hard come at me from, another person that's kind of my peer. And that obviously that was like, I don't know, 30 years ago. And I still remember that to this day. So, but to go back on what I originally said was, racism, I don't think it's black versus white. I think it's everyone versus racist, because there's just so much of that going on. And I don't want it to necessarily focus it all on a white people problem, or, you know what I mean? I just want it to be like, we need to look at the bigger picture. There's bad people of every gender, race, ethnicity, or orientation, and all that shit. So that's kind of the main thing that I've been seeing anyway right now, is just on social media, that it seems that there's so much anti-white shit, which at the end of the day is no better than anti-black shit. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on it.
I was born in Vancouver. My parents are from Portugal. They're both Portuguese immigrants. They came over in the 70s, early 70s. I'm one of 4 kids. I'm the middle child, basically. I have like a sister that's 4 years younger than me, brother and sister who are 4 and 6 years older, so I'm literally the middle child. I grew up in Burnaby, suburb of Vancouver. I know you guys know that. That's where I grew up. And yeah, I went to lived in the same neighborhood right through high school, lived in the same house, same neighborhood. And things that I remember about not knowing anything about race in a completely bad way was the Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo song. And I used to say the N-word in it and not really know what the fuck it was. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know who it was, but told me, like someone who was my age, like when I was like fucking 8. I didn't really know what that was. Really didn't know what the fuck racism was. I have a best friend that I'm still friends with to this day, that I've been friends with since kindergarten. His name is Sidir. And we were in the same class like all throughout elementary school, except for one. And then in high school, we've been friends. We're friends to this day. I talked to him today. But in I think it was like grade 4 or 3 or some shit, for no reason, I went on a fucking tirade against him, calling him fucking Punjab, Hindu, all this shit to his face for no reason. And he was my friend. And I fucking went off on him. He's crying. And he went home crying. And his mom phones my mom and is like, "Can I speak to Mrs. Cabrita? We have this, tell them it's urgent." And I got in trouble for it. But not really. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't get sat down and told like why it was wrong or whatever. I kind of got more trouble when I got a call from the principal for something. You know what I mean? Like the fact, like, and his mom is Sushma, who's like a humongous, like one of the most well-known South Asian people in Vancouver. Sushma called my house.
Why is she wide known? Just give us some more context on that.
Oh, Sushma is like, she's like the fucking Riaz youth say.
She's like, she used to host like a TV show. And like all brown families would like put their kids on there for their birthday.
For birthdays, yeah.
Yeah, I was on the show from like.
I gotta find that video and put it in the clip.
Yeah, that was an
episode that it was like a legendary thing. That's
okay.
Crazy.
Word.
Right.
Okay.
So that's like an experience that I wanted to bring up to you, like of what I did as a kid of just being fucking oblivious to fucking anything. And here's my best friend. So, but that being said, I grew up kind of like with him, like and his mom was so well known and respected, and she's actually like one of my idols of people, because she's a broadcaster, and whether I knew it or not, she has informed me. So to this day, you know, I definitely didn't do that ever again. And another time that I did something that was fucked up like that was when I was a teenager and I was at an event of Rim Jam, which was the radio station, the first 24-hour South Asian radio station in Canada. That's what she started. I was at an event. It was her event. And there was a husband of one of the people that worked there, and he was white. And he was like, asked me like where so-and-so is. And I said, over there next to so-and-so, you know, the guy with the towel on his head. So I say that shit at the fucking, at like an event of like basically my family members. Like I was just so ignorant and so like cavalier, you know what I mean? But I felt like I had a right to say it because I got brown friends. Like you know what I mean? And it was such a fucking weird thing that I look back on. And I know you guys are thinking, you're like, well, when did you fucking stop doing that shit?
I'm doing it.
And then I'll tell you another. I'm just telling you all these things so you get like, you know, this is real life shit. So I was about maybe 14, 15 at that point. And when he said that, like I've never forgot it. And you know, as I got older, I think I'm like, wow, but I'm like, wow, that's what people do when they're full blown fucking adults for the rest of their lives. Everything that I did when I was fucking 7, when I was 14. And then as far as the N-word goes, I got into hip hop like in like 87, like fully immersed. Like I was listening to like the Beatles tapes and like Steve Miller Band, not because it was like whitewash or anything, just because that's all I kind of knew. I already knew a couple of rap songs that I thought were very interesting, but like once I got into hip hop, it was 2 Live Crew, Public Enemy, and like Boogie Down Productions and all this shit, and I just went all the way fucking in, like you know, and I started hearing when I started hearing the N-word, it was in music. I didn't really hear it at all, except for that time when I said it as a kid in Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. So fast forward a little bit to me hanging out with Marlon and meeting Marlon, and we're all like, we met in all ages dances, and I'm fully in whatever. And we have a friend named Barry who's Misfit from the Rascals.
I was a better dancer than Phil.
I don't know, man. Maybe now. So Barry Leonard, he was like my first dance partner in the high school, and he was one of like 5 black kids in our high school. There was Barry Leonard, Chris Nowak and his sister, and I swear to God, that's all I remember right now. And like, I'm fully into hip hop, so I'm looking for black people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, hey, hey, let's fucking go and fucking do stuff. I don't know what I was thinking, but but Barry came up to me and just like asked me if I wanted to do a dance routine with him. So he's one of my first kind of like hip hop friends. And fast forward, like from that point, that's when we were like 15 to when we were in our 20s, which is like mid 90s. And I remember at a jam, I was amped about something, and we were going up the stairs to the jam, and I was like, blah blah blah, right? And I N-worded him, like a homie, like I've heard, and I'd never said it, whatever. And fucking God bless Barry Leonard, man. He fucking stopped me right there, and he says, "I'm not your fucking N-word. Don't call me that." And I was like, okay. And I never fucking, you know, tried ever again to like that, you know. You know, and when I was younger, I would say it in songs. I would say it in along the songs. I feel like I had like the card of it. But just like as I got older and as I just like saw people who were quote unquote not as into hip hop as me, just being fucking, again, cavalier and just doing shit, I'm like, this is not cool. You know what I mean? And you got like people like Chuck D who don't even say it anymore. And he's trying to make black people not say it. And so yeah, like I just constantly learning and checking myself at all points at all times while fully immersing myself in it. And I've learned everything from hip hop. That's the starting point. You know what I mean? Like Public Enemy talks about everything that's happening now. Everything, every fucking thing. NWA, you know, everyone's talking about that now. Nothing's changed in 30 years. So I've been on that side. I've been on the side of this, understanding it from this point to like just and to this day, man. I just watched this thing, Killer Mike from last year, where he like went in on this DJ, DJ Wonder, who works on Shade 45 alongside like Sway and Heather B. And Killer Mike asked him a question, and the answer was like, "Yo," and Killer Mike fucking just tried to. They had this talk, and like and from what Killer Mike was saying brought me even more understanding of how the systematic racism that oppresses people, to be oppressed, someone has to be doing the oppression. So with the white guilt is because you don't want to be a bad person, but people are saying you're a bad person because you have been brought into this system as well as the oppressor against you even knowing it. But the problem, but you don't recognize it as a white person because you get to benefit from it. So black people figured out way fucking long ago. James Baldwin, like everyone, just go the fuck back. You know what I mean? And then rappers, you know, X-Clan, everyone's explaining to me all this shit. And I've never taken offense to anything. Kill Whitey. I never gave a fuck about any of that. But to this fucking day, it's like, wow. So we're all part of the system. So white people have been, the thing that Killer Mike said to Wonder was, you're missing out on knowing about all these awesome black people in history because the history books have been so skewed white. Like you're missing out on all the history of all these black people and different histories that you don't even know about. Like you are literally missing out. So let's all learn everything about each other and fill each other in. But Killer Mike's also like, but I know everything about you because that's all I've been taught. Yeah. And I like you guys. I like everything that I've seen about you guys. Now, can you fucking learn about me now? You know what I mean? And that goes for like indigenous fucking history and anything that isn't white. Yeah. That isn't fucking Disney. That isn't part of the system. So, you know, as a white person, you just like, someone asked me just fucking today, and God bless her heart, I work with her. She said, hey, I want to ask you the opinion on this because I don't, you know, because she's like, what about people that were talking about, I saw you went to the protest, like, what about people who were worried about COVID? You know, and like, isn't that dangerous? Like, which, and I was like trying to answer it, and then it just dawned on me. I'm like, look, during COVID, you have a list of fucking priority places you go, even in extreme lockdown. You go to the fucking grocery store, you go and do this. These are your priority places. Priority place was the fucking protest. That's on your priority list. That you have no excuse. It's that important. It's as important as getting fucking food and fucking supplies.
That's dope.
That's it. So if it wasn't, if you think, oh, well, it's not as important. What do you mean? Groceries and eating and living? Motherfucker, what the fuck do you think the protest is about?
Yeah, no doubt. So, you know, this whole journey, like I'm 45 years old, you know what I mean? Like going back to the way that I grew up. So in high school, when I got into hip hop, it's kind of like Riaz. Like I wanted to ask Riaz, I don't want to interrupt you, but did you have a white guy in your crew?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm token white guy. You know, I always laugh at token black guy because I'm token white guy in my crew. I'm token white guy in my fucking Filipino extended family. You know, I'm part of fucking, you know, I'm brown white guy at the fucking brown things that no one knows why is he here. Like when I was younger, right? But my crew, my original crew in high school was me, Portuguese, identifies as white as a motherfucker, but kind of ethnic still, you know what I mean? Like I've actually been discriminated against for being like Middle Eastern, so which is funny. It's not funny, but it's like, but nothing ever like whatever. So it was me, it was Barry Leonard, black, Trinidadian, half Trini, and his mom is half, right, Barry? His mom is half and his dad is black. They're from Montreal, but Barry's light skin, right? Yeah, talking to Marlon. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Me, Barry. I'm looking at you on the screen.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know who Barry is.
Okay, sorry. Me, Barry, Jose Gonzalez, Filipino immigrant, came here when he was 10. Robert Risk, who we know, most of us know, Lebanese motherfucking immigrant, came here when he was also 10, didn't speak a word of English.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Leung, Chinese Canadian, Mandeep Jyoti, Sikh Canadian. So that was my crew, 6 of clubs, and we were the only. We were the only
token. That was the United Colors of Benetton right there. That's not token. You weren't something like token.
And I was the only guy that rapped. Me and Mandeep were the rappers, except I went extra hard on the rapping. We're a dance crew, and I had 6 of clubs, 6 of CLUBS, Courage, Love, Unity, and Brotherhood.
Nice.
Wow.
So we were the only ones in high school that were really into hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is into the fucking Tragically Hip. That's why I hate the Tragically Hip, because everyone else in our high school was like, thought we were, just was like not, they couldn't relate to us.
Mm-hmm.
They would make fun of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these white motherfuckers would make fun of us, or even like the fob guys, like, and they weren't the fob mod guys, like the Asian crew. I don't know how old you guys are, but there's like, you remember the Asian dudes that wore like the hammer pants and then the Keds without the laces and the hair? Like they fucking didn't understand us either, right? And we're like these hip hop guys, and we ended up dancing at the halftime show at the BC boys finals, where Steve Nash was still in high school, by the way. And we got called the cheerleaders for our high school. You know what I mean? And there was only like 2 other people that were prominently kind of like into hip hop. This guy named Paul Jubal, who was a huge drug dealer who's got murdered, actually. He used to come to school. He's a brown guy. He's Smiley. He used to come to school with fucking fuzzy Kangol and shit, like dressed like fucking LL. Like crazy. And people used to make fun of him. The white dudes in our school used to fucking make fun of him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was, they thought we were wearing costumes and shit. They thought we were so dumb. We were so dumb. So this is informing me, you know what I mean? Like I'm becoming like, fuck you guys. You know what I mean? Like, so this informed me it just kept informing me to the point where I got onto Top 40 radio after doing college radio, hip hop, underground hip hop, gone to Top 40 radio. And I always had this thing like, I'm going to infiltrate the system. You know what I mean? I look like them. I'm going to trick them. So I've always been like, it's been my priority to just be to be woke before it was a word, and to be like an ally understanding.
Maybe we can like go around on that point. Like if no, you raised a good point though. And I think it's something that Floetic wanted to talk about, but like I was informed a lot by my dad. He was like a social justice warrior, proud black dude all the time. But then it was hip hop. Certainly, like Run DMC, Proud to Be Black. When I heard that shit, it just like hit me in the right place, and all of it, Brand New, Being Public, all this stuff, right? Everything. And I've always kept that with me. Was everyone else on the call, could you say that you were largely informed about like race relations, if you will, in North America through hip hop, through rap music?
I would say no.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say 100% for myself.
That raised me, so I've always seen
right.
Fucking growing up in that era, right after like NWA and stuff like that. Whatever they were screaming, "Fuck the police!" I was right behind them at home saying, "Fuck the police," you know. So,
and understanding what they're saying, like they're not fucking lying. Like this is not, you know.
Not just a cool thing to say; it's reality.
Yeah.
No. Actually, fuck the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for myself, I come from Caribbean descent. I originally went to school in East Van when I was at a super young age. And as Riaz said, we actually went to the same high school. So my family and I moved to Surrey probably around the age of 13. And I went to Mount Pleasant Elementary, which is predominantly white, Asian, and Native, actually, at that time at least, to going to pretty much an all-brown school, an Indian school, right? to be completely honest, the transition wasn't bad. I feel like I was accepted, but it was because of my skills in basketball. Like, I feel like the thing of sports really broke down a lot of barriers with my friends. One thing though, I'm sure Riaz knows, you know, the fireplace across from the McDonald's on 72nd in Newton?
Yeah.
So I don't know if this was the same for you, but when I was in grade 9 and grade 10 going onwards, there was actually a skinhead club behind the firehouse. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. We rolled up on them a couple times and shot fireworks and shit at them.
And we're talking like 5 to 10 blocks away from a bunch of high schools, because the way Surrey is there's high schools every 5 blocks, right? So I would have to walk with a knife to go to school, just for protection. Not in the mind state of I'm gonna, fuck somebody up, but in the mindset of I want to make it home, right? Because you never know, and especially those times I'd be going to basketball practice late, leaving the school at 9:30, 10 p.m. Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. And like as Riaz said, the school that we grew up in, it was really tough, man. It was really tough. Teachers were getting stabbed. There's fights all the time.
It's insanity.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was. I'm sure it's better now, but we were in the paper almost every fucking week.
It's funny. I'm gonna say this. Just bringing up the high school is just like I have a sibling, a little brother. He got jumped on Halloween night while we were in high school. While Floetic, I guess, was in the same age range as my brother. Yeah. He got jumped by like 30 kids. He broke a bunch of bones. He was in the hospital for about 3.5 months. And the funny thing is, the cops came to my mom, and they went to her and said, "Oh, it looked like he fell off a park bench." And this is after he had a fractured skull they had put back together for him. And the cops, after they gave the report, like, "Oh, we don't think anything happened. We don't believe he jumped. I think he just got a little drunk or something and fell off a park bench." And us as we were just like, what else can we do? And for in my mind, police didn't protect us. They didn't do anything for us. And the only justice that we found back then was us looking for justice, was me going out looking for these kids that did whatever to my family. Yeah, that was just like that was like a normal day in the hood in fucking Surrey, man. It was wild.
Surrey's wild.
Yeah.
And
you guys had
with cops on that level, I don't want to say all cops are bad either.
Yeah.
Sure. There's some decent humans out there, but that was just one instance where I was just like, man, fuck the police. I could just no respect for them. Like my kid brother could have died, and all they cared about was, oh, he fell off a park bench like that, and they didn't even investigate or nothing. That was just the end of the story. Have a good night, Miss Khan, and that was it.
That's some bench he fell off of.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Nate,
Crazy benches out there in Surrey.
Nate, to answer your question, I would say that my parents really instilled the notion of you're black in North America more than music. At a young age, like Martin Luther, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, these guys were on our walls, right? And I gotta really tip my hat off to my parents, because without them, I really wouldn't have known too much about my culture, because in Vancouver, there's not too many black people, period. No matter what, African, Caribbean, American, there's not many of us, right? So my parents and my older sister really, really put it in you, like, you're black. Same thing that, April and Riaz said, you got to work a little harder, but just remember who you are and what you are at the end of the day. You're not going to have the same playing field as everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. Which goes into my next question, actually, and we'll start with Riaz again. Just the
sorry to interrupt, but I have a birthday dinner. I thought we were only going to be till 8. I apologize, everybody.
No worries.
But I got a dip.
Happy birthday,
Where is Aki?
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Don't talk shit about me.
Later, birthday boy.
As soon as you leave, I'm talking shit about you.
Perfect. I'm out.
All right, brother. Take care, man. To get back. Thank so Riaz, just like the state of America right now, right? Obviously, it's a troubling time. The country is literally imploding in every angle, right? What are your thoughts on what's going on? How do you feel? It's a loaded question, but take it where you want with this.
I mean, I feel like I've always been informed of what's going on, how the culture. I've seen all these cases of oppression. In the black culture, and this past weekend, it was nuts, man. I believe in the protesting. I believe everyone should be out there doing their part. But I also, at the same time, it was just like, the person that wrapped up me for the best was Killer Mike, I think on Friday night, when he addressed Atlanta. And the way he spoke, being a son of a police officer, and just saying, like, it's about the vote. You got to vote. Like, a lot of people aren't voting. And it's like, to make change happen, you have to vote. Like, it might sound like the simplest thing. And I know, and I understand that people are oppressed, and there's to a point where people are at the edge now. Like, Black people are like, are just like, oh my God, like, how much more of this can this happen? And Will Smith quoted, like, racism is just being caught on cameras now. Like, people are just filming it all. Like 20 years ago, just imagine how bad it could have been, even worse, with no cameras or anything, right? We live in a social media culture now, which records everything we do. But like, 25 years ago, who knows how bad it could have been? Like, people just, like the Rodney King thing. Like, I remember as a child, like, seeing the Rodney King video, like, what the fuck? Like, what are these police doing to this guy? Like, I was young at that time, probably, I don't even know, maybe 9 or 10 or whatever it was. But I remember that grainy VHS type video, like it was yesterday. But like, I hope people can also stay calm as well, like, and protest peacefully. What Vancouver did yesterday, that peaceful protest, was amazing. But I also understand the other side of it, where people are forced, they're fed up, they want change now. And I think this might be the one. I feel like in my heart of hearts that this case will lead to something, because it's the first time I'm noticing that all these major companies now are backing it, like Nike, for example, Reebok, and all this stuff. And like, it's people are listening. And now it's like Colin Kaepernick, who is kneeling and showing the world all about this. Look at him now. This is exactly what he was talking about. So yeah, but yeah, I want to give everybody a chance to speak on this.
Yeah, so. Nate, go for it, man.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like since Trump came in, and actually when Obama got in, that's why Trump's in, because America showed its true face. There are so many people that were upset that they had a Black president, and it stirred up so much shit, because frankly, it was something that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, a Black president in the U.S. And, you know, Trump's made it okay for all those people to come up out of their dirty fucking basements and be openly racist and do all these sorts of things. Like, we all know he's stoking the fires every day. But it's really, it just shows, though. It's not like people are like, I like Donald Trump, I'm going to be a racist overnight. It's this problem that's been going on forever. And I don't want to belabor it, because we all know that. We know about, like, the Watts riots in '65, and then the Rodney King in '92. And now, like, that was 27 years or so. This is like 27 years or so after the Rodney King. So it's really a strange pattern. But yeah, dude, like, there's two things I think immediately that needs to change, or that people need to acknowledge, is like, one, yes, vote. That's the only way to get things done. And like, in the tiny bit of government relations that I do within my job, and that I do, you know, as a voter and as an active participant, it's the only way to get things done. Dude. Like, that's as simple as that. As many roadblocks as they put up in the U.S. for you know, to dissuade people from doing that. And the other thing is, like, recognizing that the police are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of oppression. They're just like the little foot soldiers. That's why these motherfuckers get no training. Anybody could be a cop. It's like, they're literally like just the little ants that are out there that are representing this larger system. And, you know, without police reform, that like immediate and serious police reform and repercussions for actions like this, nothing else can change. Those are the first two things. Everything else is, to me, is a fucking, like I say, it's the tip of the iceberg. Icebergs are 90% underwater. There's so much. The system has been rigged since day one. Like, literally in Vancouver too, written into our zoning laws, written into a city constitution. Like, that's the way it is. It was white guys going, okay, how can we keep this for ourselves and our families? But anyways, so I think first things first, vote, get the police straightened out, and you know, and then keep affecting change. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot of, like, Rio, you brought up that corporations are finally getting behind it and all this stuff, even though, like, you know, when Cap was doing his thing a couple of years ago, it was very standoffish. is there's a lot of virtue signaling going on, which is driving me fucking crazy.
Fucking insane.
Yeah, and I'm trying to ignore it. I'm trying people that are posting shit that I like. I'm just like trying to pretend they didn't post that shit. But like when Netflix posts something and who the fuck else posted something that I was like, get the fuck out of here. What are you going to do? What are you doing? You know, you know, yeah, it's great you post something. How are you helping? Actually. Anyway.
That's fair. Marlon?
To further with what you're saying, that yeah, it's horseshit. I mean, at the end of the day, Netflix can say, "Hey, we speak up," and and then like Hulu, if you don't say anything in 30 minutes, you're canceled. Like, fuck out of here. What's that getting? That's not getting anything. Yeah. Netflix by writing 2 things from some fucking, I don't even know, what do they call them? People that don't get paid, but they
Interns.
I'm interns. See, I'm not even at that level to have interns, so I don't even know what they're known. But when these big corporations are doing shit like that, it doesn't help at the end of the day. To be honest with you, with what's going on in America, it needs to happen. But the scariest thing on this whole thing now that you're starting to notice, is this is going to turn into a race war. And I don't know if this is like, I'm not trying to like fucking predict some shit here. I'm not Nostradamus, but at the end of the day, I'm starting to see more and more of these white guys coming together. If you're on Instagram, and yes, I've been that guy in Instagram, just like, what the hell's going on? And you're noticing.
I've been on Twitter, dude, fucking 17 hours a day.
And they're coming together. They're like coming together, and now it's like, oh, we're gonna protect, like, we're gonna protect our beach, or we're gonna protect this area, and they've got bats, and then it's gonna turn into guns. So I wish, the insightfulness that that guy Donald Trump instills in people, all over. I mean, regardless of, it incites everyone. He incites the radical racists. He incites black people, because black people or people that are for the cause are like, fuck this guy. So it's just like nothing. It's just divisiveness, as they would say. And it's just it's not fair to society. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I've got 2 kids. My son's, he's half black, half Asian. My daughter's half black, half Asian, same baby mama. And I'm trying to like teach them like just that being a black man or a black woman, or even of any kind of mix or minority or whatever it is, it's okay. And whatever you see, and if people speak negative to you, you just accept it. You don't accept it, but you stick up for yourself. Don't get beat down by it, but also don't react. I did that a lot when I was a kid. I reacted, and when I reacted, it didn't really get me anywhere. It just got me kind of either in trouble, or my hand hurt, or my face hurt, because then I get beat up, because I got beat up a lot too. It's what's going on. It has to. I mean, obviously, someone's got to step in. Being at the rally yesterday was very, very nice. It was great to see a peaceful riot. It was great to listen to the speakers. Everyone had a voice. Everyone was heard as much as they could. Next time, I'm going to bring a speaker that everyone can hear.
Yeah,
I think that needs to happen next time.
Yeah, bro.
And I think that's where I'm going to reach out to even the organizers. Like, hey, we got enough within the industry here. Like, we'll bring a generator. We'll bring speakers.
Yeah.
You get fucking heard.
I haven't seen anybody that wore a shirt like yours on the internet. Marlon had "I Matter" on the back of his.
Oh, I made like a last minute "I Matter," and I put the names of everyone that I could, and I made it in 10 minutes with spray paint and whatever. But there was a few things that happened. It was peaceful, but there was a couple moments. Like, I was there with some friends. I'm not going to name names. And someone was tagging not one of my friends, but someone was outside of the crowd was tagging the Hotel Vancouver. And one of my friends said, "Hey, no, that's not what we want. We don't want that." And then this individual was like, this is my land. He was Aboriginal, which was, it's fine. But it kind of turned into this heated moment where it was like, we don't need you to do that for us right this minute and this time. This is not what we need. What we're doing here right now is peaceful. And then my friend, the guy, said some shit, and then they got into a scuffle. And then my buddy got kind of like, people in the crowd were like, "You're such a, like, what are you doing?" And it's like, well, no, you're not seeing the picture here. Like, I get that we're all like rallying here and coming together, but this person is literally defacing property that we don't need. Like, writing "fuck the police" on the Vancouver hotel fucking wall is not getting us anywhere in life right now. especially with how beautiful it was with what was going on there. Like I sat there and watched pretty much every speaker, and it was great. But I don't know. I think I really think there's a race war coming, and I think we have to be prepared to like teach our kids and anyone that asks questions and doesn't understand, is just fill them with knowledge. I think knowledge is king. I can't vote in the state, so all I can do is hope that people vote. Yeah, it's sad.
April?
I mean, echoing all those things, everything that all three of you guys said, I agree. I think we're on the brink of a civil war here. And to someone, I can't remember who said it earlier, but it's not different minorities against the whites or whatever. It's racist against non-racists. It's just two groups. That's it. And it's interesting just from a Canadian perspective, being down here, because before I moved to the States, I listened to the Daily podcast. So I don't know if any of you guys listened to that, but New York Times, amazing. And I am still a political junkie. Like I listened, I keep my ear to the ground. I understand what's going on. I actually knew more about American politics and Canadian politics, which is not abnormal for most people being Canada and all that. And when I moved to New York, I had to stop listening because it just became all too real. It was actually when the Parkland shootings happened. I remember I was listening to it on the subway, and I just started bawling. And at that moment, it just becomes so real when you're in the States. And seeing all the events that have happened recently, you're totally right. It's systemic and institutionalized racism. You know, we talk about equal opportunity and equal representation, especially in the corporate world. And of course, we want the best candidate for the job, but it's not just to fill a quota. And when you look at the candidate pool of the best person for the job, you have to think, well, everyone that's in that pool, did those people have equal opportunity to get there? Do we have equal opportunity for every race to be in that pool? And the answer is no. And I think what we're seeing right now, I think Josh said, you said it earlier, is that white people are feeling like they're under siege when this is the first time ever that that's happened. And this whole like white fragility thing is fucking real.
Yeah,
and
disgusting.
It's disgusting. And I am also on my phone on Instagram and on Facebook and like combating comments. And, there was this post just even today, and this woman goes, what about reverse racism? I am a substitute teacher, and I taught this group of black kids, and they said, I don't need to listen to you because I'm white or because you're white. And she left in tears, she said. And I said, oh, really? You left in fucking tears? How about the black people that leave with fucking bullets in their back? Like, is that really comparable? You're complaining about this? This isn't about you. This is about them. And I really hope, Rio, that you're right, that this is like the one that's going to cause the change. Because the thing that I'm encouraged by are the number of people in my network and in just other people's that I've talked to, of people reaching out, and mostly actually white people reaching out, whether men or women, and being like, yo, I didn't realize that I was doing this. I didn't realize that I had this privilege. I had no idea that I was doing these microaggressions, because it is so societal, growing up in Vancouver, all these things that you don't recognize them as microaggressions. In regards to the riots, there's different schools of thoughts or different kind of perspectives. And I think that Trevor Noah, in my mind, said it the best. I don't know if you guys have seen his video. It's about 18 minutes. And he talks about the social contract. I love the way he speaks, because he's so eloquent in his words, and he's able to be so disarming. He lived through apartheid. He saw, his book is incredible. If you haven't read it, an amazing book, because he's also, biracial, and he wasn't black enough and he wasn't white enough. So in South Africa, he was colored, so he never really fit in. And he talks about why people are rioting and how it got to riots when they're supposed to be peaceful. And how he explains it is that it's a broken social contract between blacks and whites. If the contract is that we're supposed to all be equal, and yet that's broken day after day after day after day, why should black people have to adhere to this contract when the other end isn't adhered to? And so, not that it makes rioting okay, but it makes you just understand the why behind it. And I think that's really important. I also agree that Killer Mike had an incredible address to a lot of media or to the media outlets. I think that was so on point. I think it also makes sense that you don't want to burn your own house down, because what's left, right? I think what he said is, if you burn your house down, if you burn your city down, what's left afterwards? Charcoal, nothing for anybody. And so I think what we're seeing here is that more and more people are admitting that there's a race problem. I think that's the first step. I was really surprised actually a couple of years ago in 2018 when a 30-year study came out. It was based on anonymous earnings of demographic data, and virtually every American in that study is now in their late 30s. They included over 20 million kids and their parents, and it debunked a number of widely held hypotheses about inequality and income inequality. And it looked specifically at the upward mobility of groups of people in America. And what they found was, when they looked at everything, all else equal, like I'm talking education, family structure, location, everything, the only thing that was different was race. Not surprisingly, Black men in America had the lowest upward mobility. And if you had come from money, the likelihood of you losing it was so much greater than any other race, any other group. The positive that came out of that, which was interesting, was that Black women are almost on par with white women, but it's Black men in America that have it the worst. It was Black men and actually Native Americans as well. They're pretty much on par, and that's something that people don't talk about either, right? It's because they're such a small piece of the population now that they're not even a part of this whole conversation. So I was really surprised, because when that census came, or when that study came out, it wasn't really widely talked about, but I felt almost disheartened, because it was the first time that it was so clear that there was a race problem in America. Like, there was no defying any of the data, like 20 million people, and all the data showed all of this. And I'm like yelling now. I apologize for that, because I think just before, when I was in Canada, it was such a them problem. You know, it wasn't like, oh, we don't have that in Canada. But hearing your stories, and obviously being a lot more understanding and recognizing and having more experiences, it's like, this is not just a US problem, it's a world problem. It's a North American problem. Like Amy Cooper, that woman that was in Central Park that called on the bird watcher guy, right? There's a couple things there. I think, one, it was important that came out, and then the George Floyd stuff happened, because it kind of just really showed that they know that they can weaponize the police. And it was so clear on video that she was doing that and raising her voice. But did you know that, yeah, she's Canadian? It's not that this is just an American thing. She's fucking Canadian. And the worst part is that she thinks that those things are okay. And she covers those aggressions and those racist remarks by being politically correct, you know, an African American. I'm going to call and tell them an African American man is threatening my life and my dog. And the one thing that I keep wondering, and it's just so unfortunate to say, is that if she didn't have the dog and she wasn't pulling that dog along, would it have also gone as viral as it did? Because often I feel that when there's animal cruelty, it becomes even a bigger thing. And I think right now it was just the perfect storm of events. COVID, people are fucking pissed about being inside. They're so fed up with being inside. To this woman came out on the media, and all these things have come out there, and then George Floyd, amongst all the other kind of deaths that we've seen. So it's really overwhelming, because as someone who is a person of color but not in the Black community, I almost feel helpless. Like, I want to help and I want to create change. And, you know, on my social media personally, I've shared a lot of resources and, you know, talking about donating to all the different groups and speaking your mind and making sure you have those hard conversations. But I'm wondering what's going to happen after all of this. You know, do you guys remember?
Always a question.
Do you remember that Australia was on fire in February? Doesn't that seem like last year? Like, these things that happen in the media are so poignant at that time. And then they just kind of disappear. So I'm really hoping that this sticks. What's been, really encouraging are the number of people speaking up. I hear you when you guys are saying, you know, so what if corporations are saying the couple of these sentences? It may not seem like they're doing anything at that point, but at least they're taking a stand and saying something. What I think is worse is when someone says nothing. You know, when silence is violence, I think that's even worse, because even if it is just a sentiment that they're saying, at least some people will see that as, oh, right, shit, I gotta check myself. I have to really recognize my privilege and see what's really going on here. Mm-hmm. So I think the first step in all of this is admitting that there is a race problem. And I think more and more that's happening. And, you know, people in my network that I never thought at all they would ever talk about race are coming up with their stories. So specifically white women talking about how they never thought they had the passport to talk about race. They could never talk about race outside of their house because they just weren't allowed to. They didn't have any skin in the game, so they didn't have anything to give. But it's now showing.
I think that's such a cop-out, personally. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I think that's such a cop-out because the feminist movement, I mean, women still have a lot of challenges, but it always seems like it's white women that are like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't. It's like, fuck, you have a lot of power. Like, you got the vote in women got a vote before black people did. Mm-hmm. Like, there's, you know, I'm not accepting that. I'm like, there's all these half measures and excuses and all this bullshit. No.
But I think what I'm looking at is they are willing to change. You know, they admit that they should have talked about this earlier, but at least they're doing it now. And I think
sorry, I don't want to cut anybody off.
No, go ahead.
I think everyone's making this change now. I think this change is coming from people because now is the day and the age where people are actually like, oh shit, I got to say something. I have to say something, but I want to know if they really mean it. I want to know if they really are going to utilize it. They're going to actually do something about it. Mm-hmm. I want to know that Netflix is going to do something about it. I want to know that Susie Q, because she didn't feel like she could talk about it, is actually going to do something about it now. Mm-hmm. Like, go out and silent protest. You know what? Like, again, we live in a very diverse city, Vancouver, and to see every color, every ethnicity out on Monday. Was it yesterday? I can't even remember days. Yesterday got me all wrapped up. It's just yesterday. It's really just like it's beautiful. But again, like it's one thing to post that you support, but it's like do more, do better,
take action.
You know, do more, do better, you know, and not just one post. I don't want to see one post and then all of a sudden it's your scrunchie and your latte that you got at Starbucks that next day. Like, that's not doing anything for me. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Anything else you want to touch on, April?
I mean, I think there's a lot more, but I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah. We're still going to, there's more, sorry, April, more topics as long as you guys have the time, right? So let's move on to Joss.
Jeez, man. April, wow. You nailed that. You nailed that for sure. I'm going to just be completely honest. And like the first time that this came out, like actually my stance on this has been like kind of similar, where it's just like, I really wanted it to be like, I want to live in this fucking world where it doesn't matter. And I'm like, fuck you guys. I'm living in this world where it doesn't matter. I got my black friends. I got my Asian friends. My girlfriend's Vietnamese. I don't give a, like, it doesn't fucking matter. And I'm like, fuck you guys. And I'm so adamant about that. I'm like, you guys, the world is at a lower level of consciousness because I can just see that you're a fucking human and I love you and that's it, period. I'm not partaking. And I'll be very vocal about how idiotic this is. And then my brain goes in and goes, yeah, Josh, it's cool that you feel that way, but reality is reality. And just throwing your head in the sand ain't like that. And so in terms of like what's going on in the States right now, it's like, dude, what do you expect? Like, well, look at the facts. You enslaved a country while they built a nation. You enslaved a race while they built a country. You then systemically, by law, discriminated against them for another X 100 years or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden we get equal rights. And then there's still systemic racism and deep-rooted racism. It's like, what the fuck do you expect? Mm-hmm. All these new anchors are coming like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Like, what are these reckless thugs and these African Americans and these Hispanics? Who knew they were so aggressive? It's like, dude, are you joking? Like, we're humans and we're treating each other like dogs. It's like, this is This is not outlandish in any way, shape, or form. And like, I'll be honest, I talk to a lot of people behind closed doors. I talk to a lot of high net worth individuals behind doors. And they're like, I can't believe this is happening. Don't they understand they're Americans? Don't they understand? Why don't they work hard? What's wrong with them? And I'll be like, I'll always go back to the same example, and I'll try to wait for solutions to the next question, because that's on where we're going here. But it's just like, certain people aren't afforded the opportunity to speak, to get educated, to build wealth. It's at the root of these things. And we can go into solution those after, but it's like, when people are surprised, or people don't know how to feel, or people are struck by the enormity of today's situation, it just speaks to their ignorance. It speaks to how much people don't want to feel uncomfortable. But sadly, we have to feel uncomfortable in order to get to a fucking solution. And it's like, man, I've been uncomfortable. This call, I've been uncomfortable the last couple. Black people have been uncomfortable forever. It's like we have to do this. We have to do this. And the other part of this is like, what do we want as a race, as human? What do we want? What do I want? The most privileged motherfucker on the planet. What do I want? I want a world where me, my community, my tribe, my family can excel. That's all I want, right? So I can go on to the next generation and build and be better than the last. That's what I want. So what part of me is not understanding that a equal world, a peaceful world, is going to contribute to me and my family having more prosperity in the long term? And it's like, I just don't understand how there's such a disconnection between me, myself, my tribe, my race, and the world. It's like, it's literally one thing. Stop it. And that's what frustrates me about this whole thing. And my perspective on this is like that I sit in rooms with people that have very different opinions than me, and I see the other side of the fence, and I see how they think about this, and I see how that thinking is bred and how that thinking is passed on. And I do my best to try to talk to people in the language in which they understand. For me, that's been money. That's been profit. So I try to reframe everything in the, hey, listen, you fuck. Sorry. Hey, listen, sir. It's going to be more profitable if you let any person of color get in the door. I'll use women as an example, for instance, as another marginalized group. Just imagine if for the entire history of humanity, with the exception of maybe the last few years, we didn't marginalize half of our population. Imagine how much further we would be. Imagine how much more productive our economies would be and how much more profitable our companies would be if we didn't marginalize half of our population. And that's not even talking about skin color. So I always try to like relate things back and to go, how do I speak a language that you understand? Oh, the only language you understand is money? Okay, well, let me show you how giving everyone more opportunity is going to make you more money, you fuck. Sorry. And that's kind of where I come at it. So it's like, of course there's riots. Of course, obviously. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
Bill.
I don't know. Don't apologize for saying fuck. I think I'm about to say about 100 fucks right now. All of the fucks that I don't give.
All the fucks
to people. This is no disrespect to anybody on the panel at all. But what I've learned, and this is not, Joss, is not for you specifically. What I've learned as a white guy is to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
With things that are not affecting me. Acknowledging your privilege is acknowledging that you're not affected. So you literally have no right to put your opinion on it unless it's support. No holds barred support. There's no right to fucking police why people are rioting instead of being instead of being peaceful. If you're not black, you have no say in policing if it should be violent or not. Absolutely fucking not. There's no fucking way. And to go to what Marlon said about that incident at the protest where the indigenous dude started thing, and they're like, no, not today. It's not to take away from the injustice of Canada and the indigenous people, but the movement right now, the what's the fucking word when the whole world is at the same vibration?
Impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Vibration.
Yeah, like when it's whatever. When everything is we're all feeling this energy.
In line.
Feel when you go, in line. It's another word. I'll find it. When everyone. What? Zeitgeist.
Oh, zeitgeist. Sure.
Kinda, right?
I don't even know what that means, man.
All right.
Bro, that's education. I don't got
But
that.
anyway, it's not really the right word. But anyway, look, this energy and being at the protest, that's the first fucking protest I've been to in my life. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't go to the women's march because it didn't work out, but my girlfriend went. And that's kind of the only ones that we've seen in Vancouver. I mean, there's been indigenous marches. Like we should be more supportive to indigenous injustices in Canada. But at this fucking moment, the people that were at the thing here, the things that are happening in the States is because of George Floyd. It's because of everything that has led up to that point. It's the motherfucking tipping point. So comparing it to this, comparing to that, is not the fucking time. There's no comparison. There's no comparison to anything else. It is what it is right now. And the force you feel is for that. That is the first, that is where your energy should go and where it belongs. Mm-hmm. Not making comparisons. Don't motherfucking police people. For instance, Virgil Abloh, $50. His socks cost more than that in his store. That's how much he donated and fucking showed it on his social media. Me, as being me, except for, Nate, fucking Floetic, and Marlon. Only people that are allowed to fucking comment on that. Take it back for another example. When Kanye was going all off the fucking rockers. I have friends who are total Kanye fans, right? Mm-hmm. White guys. Don't comment. He's still a black guy. He's still a black dude who has to be black no matter what he's saying. Mm-hmm. You don't have to stand by him, you know what I mean? And you don't have to comment on him being bad to his community. He will still have to be that. It will never affect you. You'll never. So just stand the fuck back. Mm-hmm. Stand back and be a real ally. There's this all black group that did something at the Culch something, and on their Facebook page it said, this is for black people only. Like, we understand you're an ally, da 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 da. And I'm like, awesome. I am so happy to not fucking go. And because people are going to be going there like, I'm an ally, I want to go there. Like, literally, please don't go. Like, this has nothing to do with you. It's like explaining racism to fucking white people. It's like black people explaining racism to white people. It's not fucking on them. So just play your role, support 100%. 100% have support. But you don't take away from the weight of it and the severity of the human rights. And going back to what April said about, the dog in the motherfucking video, my girlfriend just talked to her white friend today. And in order for her white friend, smart, to understand what kind of like, not what the big deal is, but like to put it in perspective, mm-hmm. They said, if he fucking kneeled on a motherfucking dog, it would have got more fucking reaction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what she had to tell her. That's what her white friend went, yeah, fuck, so true, right? Oh my God. Like, mm-hmm. That's what, to put it in perspective at how much of a big deal of the non-response. since Fuck the Police by NWA. On Twitter last night, I posted a thing of me at the fucking thing, and I put it towards myself, and then they're chanting in the background. I'm like, and then I go, fuck the cops, fuck the cops. I'm like, I don't know if that's what they said, but that's what I want to say, right? Because it's embedded in me. Fuck the police, hip-hop, black people, fucking injustice. This fucking person on the Twitter, disappointed. I'm like, huh? Question marks. I may be just one fan of you from the radio, but you saying fuck the cops is so ignorant, threatening cops. And then went on to tag at iHeartRadio, at fucking Virgin Radio Vancouver. Do you have this person, Flipout is saying this, all this shit. So I start going back to him, and then kind of like keeping, at first I was like, hey, go fuck yourself, and this other person. And then I took it back a notch, and I started kind of like trying to kind of like have a discourse. And I went to private messages, and I said, "Hey, can you please stop harassing me?" Because he kept doing this, and he's like, "Yeah, well, if you stop threatening cops, right?" And I'm like, I don't understand where this language came from. And one tweet he said I had hate speech. It was hate, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't think I haven't noticed all your tweets about saying." About threatening cops. I've reported them all. Because I have posts up. I'm like, fuck the pigs. There's the one where the barricade of the NYPD, and I'm like, fuck your fucking pig farm. Like, I'm doing all this shit. Like, it's coming. It's fucking coming out. I'm like, this probably sounds even better coming from me, from a white person perspective. Hey, guess what, you fucking white motherfucker? Fuck the police and fuck you. If you don't agree with, if you don't see this shit. So, and then he says that, I'm like, look, I don't know. You must be a cop. I say, you must be a cop because you're taking it so personally. And it's screenshotted. And I was like, if you are a cop, then, I don't know why you guys don't stand in solidarity for the injustices that are happening, not only in America, but to all the indigenous people in Canada, and why you haven't whatever. And then when I knew he was a fucking cop, he responded, "Yeah, you haven't been paying attention. All the chiefs," and he started listing like all the chiefs that they all have spoken out and all this shit. Then he blocks me. So I start responding with the quote tweet, and then other people start responding for me, and I can't even see what he's saying. All I see is the responses to him. Right. And then this other woman with some like hockey title in her thing is saying some shit again, saying that I'm threatening cops and like all this shit. So like, that's why I have no fucking patience, like for anything, man. Like, my opinion is I stand 100% behind by any means necessary. Like Malcolm X said, you got fucking Martin Luther King Jr.'s kids saying, burn fucking everything down. Burn it down. If there's Antifa motherfuckers coming in and sabotaging it, it's just like another fucking layer. Like, we got to figure it out then, man. The U.S. government is about to pull is martial law tonight. It's about to get fucking insanity. And I don't know what is going to happen, but saying that the fucking peaceful, like, they're trying, man. Yeah, they're fucking trying. They're trying, and then all these other interfering things are happening. So it just goes to prove on top of that the system is absolutely against black people, 100% against it to the face, to your face, to in broad daylight. So I don't know what more to how to be supportive. I'm not going to argue points about reasoning behind this, that. The point that we are at now is the last fucking point. It's the last one. They're about to have a civil fucking war. It's the last one. I don't know what's going to happen. So I don't have any fucking time. I don't even have time for this Zoom call, because the answer is it's fucking that whatever happens has to happen. And we have to support the right side of history, literally. That's it. You just have to be on the right side. Yeah. You have to be on the correct side of history. Don't try to intellectualize it. Don't think piece it. go with this. Go with what the fuck it is. The guy was killed on TV.
Crying out for his mom. His last breath.
Who was
What
dead.
else do you want? You
His
can't.
mom's dead.
Dead.
Yeah, he's calling out for her in fucking heaven. Anyway, that's, it's not, that's like, this is, it's what, like, I hope that fucking Chuck D and fucking Ice-T and fucking Ice Cube finally see everything that they fucking worked for.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
No more songs. We don't need more songs.
It's already all there.
We don't need anything else.
Yeah, need action.
And any action. Sorry.
No,
I'm not sorry, but like.
Yeah. No, it's all good, man. Speaking on the martial law topic, April, you're in LA, right? How has LA been the last week and a bit? Like, what have you seen there?
Where in LA are you?
I'm currently in Marina del Rey, so right outside of Santa Monica. There were peaceful protests yesterday, but also riots in Santa Monica. The day before that was downtown LA. They've kind of moved around. Admittedly, where I currently am is quite a small bubble because it's by the marina, so a bit further away from everything. But friends who live in downtown LA, yeah, shit's getting crazy. Curfew started at 4 p.m. today. It was originally it was 8 o'clock yesterday, and then I got a public alert saying it was 6 o'clock, and then I got moved up to 4. So you're right, it is going to be martial law. It is, like I said, we're on the brink of civil war right now. And even though there's all this COVID stuff, like I always think when our kids grow up and you look back, they're going to ask, where were you when this happened? What did you do? And how do I want to say that I showed up? Do I want to say that I was scared and that, there's COVID happening, so I didn't show my support? No, I want to say that I showed up however I want to show up, and that I am standing for those who need that voice. People always say, oh, well, what about my suffering? The thing is that suffering is not fucking limited. Just because I acknowledge your suffering doesn't diminish my suffering. We can all have that with each other. I had a very heated discussion yesterday with a Jewish friend of mine because I posted about a woman who talked about her recognizing her white privilege because she's Jewish, and that she thought because she's Jewish, I experienced the Holocaust, therefore I know how Black people feel. But what she realized through the kind of tweets and all that was that when I get pulled over by a cop, the thing that I'm most worried about is how much I'm going to pay for the ticket, and if I can, flirt my way out of the ticket. Whereas for Black people, it is completely opposite. Am I going to die? And so she brought that to light, and I thought it was really important to share, because also another group of people that was, as we all know all that shit. And my Jewish friend messaged me and goes, yo, that was high-key anti-Semitic. Do you know that? And so we had this conversation. So we talked about everything. And then I explained, because he talked about his, all the shit that he's gone through and like the racism not racism, but anti-Semitism that he's experienced. And I said, you know what, that really sucks. I'm really sorry that you had to experience all those things. What she's trying to say though is that it's the color of her skin that doesn't have, or the color of her skin that gives her the privilege of not being scared for her life. And that's it. That's the only thing. It's the color of the skin that makes a difference. And he goes, wow, okay, yeah, I get that. If she is only talking about the color of her skin giving her privilege and not diminishing the shit that I've had to go through, then we're totally aligned. And I hear her on that. And he goes, it's important for us to have these uncomfortable conversations, because that's the only way that progress is going to be made. You have to be able to call people out. And I said, thank you so much for sharing your opinion. I really appreciate it, because I want everyone to feel heard. I think what's happening though is that there's competing sorrow, there's competing suffering, and that just doesn't need to happen because there's room for it all. And I think what we need more of is empathy, and empathy for others, and kind of flip out what you said. Like, if you're not Black, you don't have anything to say. You should shut up and just support those people that have the platform to say that. I think that we should support them and tell the other people to shut the fuck up. Like exactly what you're saying. I think it's important for us to stand for others, because right now it has been Black people for so long. It could be another minority group next. Look at like the LGBT riots, like in Stonewall. if anything were to happen to my community, wouldn't I want all my friends and everyone else to stand behind me? Like, you don't have to be a part of that community to stand for them. If anything, if you're part of the majority, it is more important than ever to have your voice heard, because the only way that things are going to change is when the majority stands for the minorities. Sorry, that was totally off of the question that you asked.
No, that was well said. That was well said. That was well said.
Phil, Phil, I just wanted to highlight real quick. I thought, and to like just to amalgamate both your points, I thought you put it super well on Twitter when you were like, "This is a revolution we can't lose," and like that's it. Like that's it. Like
true.
That's it. There's no more. There's no more.
Now, let me just throw this out there, and then it's just something that popped into my head the other night, just talking with Keisha. So we have COVID that, kicked the year off essentially. And then now we have this. Do you guys feel that this could have been planned to stop people, like the whole martial law, stopping people from voting, etc.? Do you think that this could have been something, or just so happened to happen now?
Everything's possible.
I mean, that's some deep state shit.
Let's go in order. Riaz,
this Zoom just about got martial law real quick.
I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
I think COVID, towards the end of the opening of the economy, I think became political. I think the fact that LA is taking forever to reopen. I think are they closed till July now or something?
No, they kind of reopened up. I was biking the other day and patios are full. It's as if COVID never happened. The skate parks, like Venice Skate Park, is full. There's people out there. Like, it's so strange.
Okay, so yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to get into no conspiracy theory stuff. Like, I'm not really big on that kind of shit. I mean, I do think that people are politicalizing, like, the whole COVID thing. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that, but like to match into all this injustice stuff and everything is just like, I don't know, man. Trump's fucking crazy. Fucking crazy. Like,
I think we all can agree on that one.
Because he's inciting people any way possible. Like, it just, I don't know. I don't know. And just watching everything unfold it's gut wrenching, but at the same time, like, he'll do anything. So, like, I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that question, to be honest. That can go down like a little wormhole of conspiracy.
Once again, I'm just throwing it out there. You don't even have to answer. I don't even have an opinion. I'm just wondering if anybody else has an opinion. That's it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to answer, you can just politely decline.
Yeah. No, I mean, my opinion is that it's bullshit. There are conspiracies that I believe in, but this ain't one of them. Trump is, he's an animal, and he's acting like an animal backed into a corner. But and even his team couldn't engineer something like this. I have my own theories about what's going to happen with the election and how they're going to work that, by pushing it, or him refusing to leave office, or all these things that he can almost get away with under the Constitution. But this is what always happens when people have their, when they're threatened or when their rights are taken away or whatever, and it's like, oh, this is this is fucking FEMA and this Illuminati, and it's just like, no, man, like, you gotta look at the facts.
Fair. Marlon?
I don't know, conspiracy theory. I think Nate kind of said it perfectly. Is I don't think they're smart enough for this. I mean, it is the government. They've got a lot of smart people there. I just don't think it's run by Trump, and he solely is the one probably really calling the shots. As you can tell with his scientists, he doesn't listen to them. So I don't think he would have this master plan to execute. I mean, maybe, who knows? But at the end of the day, I think, I don't even know what I think about that. I think COVID's crazy. Let's be honest. Like 100,000 people, sure, people can be like, oh, it's the same as the flu, but at the end of the day, it's not. I mean, 100,000 people to die in the U.S. in a matter of 3 months is a lot. The flu kills that many people over the entire year, not just.
Sorry, I was more talking about the timing of this happening, not necessarily COVID, because COVID is real. Like, we all know it's real, right? I'm talking about like the timing of this death and with the election coming, and you know what I mean. That's more of what I was asking rather than COVID.
Oh, well, okay, sorry, then I misread. But okay, so with that then, how about this? I said this to a friend when Ahmad got shot, and there was a few other things. There's a couple of videos you see here and there with Breonna Taylor, with this. I hate to put it bluntly, but I think there's a mandate to kill niggers at this point. And I think, I don't want to get too conspiracy with it, but at the end of the day, in short of actually going up to certain people in certain departments and saying, hey, we got to incite something here. I think it is. I mean, look at 2014 is when everything really popped off again. And it kind of goes in these waves. I mean, Riaz, I think what you said about this changing, and this could be the top. I don't even think we're there yet, to be honest with you. I think I would love for it to be there. I'd love to be able to walk out of this in 6 months and go to my kids that, hey, we're here and fucking now we can kumbaya and we can do everything else that we wanted to do.
My stance on that, I think the George Floyd case, I'm not saying that we're here. I'm saying more that I think this is the one that's going to open everyone's eyes to like fully encompassing how big of a situation this really is and what the racism part of America and how it is a nation divided and everything. I mean, I think this is the one that's going to open everyone's eyes. I mean,
I just feel like
the man was brutally murdered on TV pretty much.
I know.
For the
but
entire
I saw the beating of Rodney King, and I saw the riots live. That was during my graduation year. I watched that shit when Solano Castillo got shot. I literally watched that. He was murdered. And during that whole time, it's those things to me, I want to see change every time people are active and they're doing what they're doing in the community and these riots are happening and protests are happening. And yes, riots are going to happen. And my stance on the riots, I'll get into that in a second. But I think with all of this, I think I want it to get better. And I totally agree with you, bro. I want to see this be the last. I want to see this something that opens everyone's eyes. And yes, everyone is a little bit more woke. Every time this happens, it's more and more people are like, oh, hey, and then they're on social media. And now we're becoming more positive on Twitter. And now people are I'm seeing people that I didn't know would post any of this stuff, actual factual stuff about Black history and everything like that. Josh, to your point, to get into Haiti, for instance, that was one of the worst. That was the worst island. I probably had the worst slavery issues in the world. Columbus came in there in the late 1400s and basically decimated a whole society. And then the French colonies, by the God-willing gift of the Catholic Church, said, yeah, let's do it, and made slave trade their biggest thing. In 1804, 1802, that's when that slavery upheaval happened. That was the only successful one that ever happened in the modern world. The only one. So you're right on that. So when you see stuff like that, that's what gets people that shit's been so embedded and ingrained in Black people. That's ingrained in me, and I don't even realize it. I mean, we go back to what we talked about music is I had a white mom. She did her best to teach me everything, but honestly, I learned everything from music. My aunt gave me a fucking LL Cool J I'm Bad mix tape. Yeah. I'm Bad tape. She got it in the fucking Place Club, whatever, you get those free tapes every time you got so many tapes. She's I don't know what this is. I listened to Lyle Lovett. So here's a tape for you. Gave it to me. And that shit changed that changed everything. And then I met my best friend, Aaron Dudley. We would exchange tapes. His mom would go to the warehouse, and DJ Dave was my god because I got all the music mixtapes from him. And we would go to Seattle. She loved going to Seattle, so she would bring us new shit all the time. I had every tape that I could possibly want. And not just Black tapes.
Marlon, you got to give your mom a little more credit for naming you after two of the Jackson 5. Marlon Jermaine.
No,
named after two of the 5 Jacksons.
No,
give your mom some fucking credit.
That was my dad, though. That was honestly my dad. So my mom had an epidural. She was going to name me Levi or Sterling. She got really sick. Long story short, she was incapacitated at the hospital. They had to release me, and I had to name me. So my dad was Marlon Jermaine, and it's because Michael is his older brother. He couldn't name me that. But anyway.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Not to digress, but like talking about the history of like how it's embedded in us. Like when I got those tapes and I started listening to it, it's like I almost knew. Like I knew that I had to, like, this was me. This is my culture. I had to accept it. I also had great tutelage from like some people. When I went to Bing, there was literally a community of like 15 of us Black people. And this is like early 90s. And we all sat up on the third floor. We listened to our boombox, all the latest hip hop. White kids would walk by, like the cool ones would be cool, and the Asians would walk by, and some of them didn't like us, and it was what it was. And I learned a lot of shit. And I learned that, you know, everyone can be a racist. Black people would be racist. Everyone's a racist at the end of the day. We just have to like change our views and the way we talk about it. I'm totally off topic. So
It's all good, man.
that sucks. I'm also drinking beer, so I mean.
I saw that.
Yeah. What is that? Your third? Is that third?
I saw the levels change many times.
Phil and I are paying attention, man. We're watching. April?
Sorry.
I mean, I love a good conspiracy theory.
Yep.
But I think to say that his death was planned, I think is a bit far out there.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, I think it's just more of a perfect storm of everything that's happening. To Nate's point, am I going to be surprised if they try to push the election about, you know, him not exiting office and all that? I'm not going to be surprised. Do I think that he's probably going to win again? Unfortunately, I think so. I really hope he doesn't, but fuck, I don't know.
Just real stress.
Yeah. And I actually think he's sick. Like, I actually think he has dementia.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like I don't know. There's just so much there. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I don't think that this is planned. I think that's a bit far. Like, that's very Illuminati. Ask me even further than that.
Fair. Joss?
Can I say one more thing? Can I just add one thing?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Do you mind? So the riots and my theory about the riots, and I think riots need to be looked at by the police department.
That's my next question. Just hold on. Can you hold off?
Okay, I'll wait then.
Thank you. Sorry. I got two more questions, and then we'll wrap it up because I said an hour and we're pushing 2, which is it's good.
Classic.
I got a
great.
case of beer. We're good for me.
Yeah. But, all right. Go for it, Joss.
Yo, conspiracy theories? Listen, shit. Have I listened to a Joe Rogan podcast before? I have. I ain't gonna lie, I have, you know. Are there people that pull strings? There are. Do I think this is a conspiracy theory? No, I don't. And that's just kind of where I'll leave that one. Fuck shit happens every day. But there's I don't think, not this time. I think this is just fucked up shit, not necessarily fuck shit.
Mm-hmm. I've been really appreciating what Joe Rogan is sharing because a lot of his fan base is white males. And what he's talking about, right, is a lot of stuff that we're talking about. So I've been impressed with him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Phil?
I think that the way they're handling it might be on purpose.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm with Phil.
Not on purpose, but like just you know, kind of throwing shit out there. And I don't think they have with the thing about Trump having dementia or whatever. I think it's so far gone that they just kind of like push him out there and like because it's already been proven he can literally say anything and whatever actions they have to do, whatever, they'll maneuver around whatever he said. Like it's pretty ridiculous. Like he can literally say anything. So I don't think it's really disrespectful. I've seen some people talk about how it's a false flag and shit, and it's quite disrespectful to people that have died. You know, so but man, like however they're dealing with it is that's why the reaction from the people, like we the people, I just think Twitter is so fucking important. And like, you know, I've never been one for an echo chamber, but like there's a account, I don't know if you guys follow, it's called Unicorn Riot. And they like live stream from cities, and there's just like real information out there that I think that people need to get. You know, we all know not to listen to the news. We all know. So, you know, once you see certain things circulating, you know, the certain things circulating, you got to backtrack and see, why is this circulating so much?
Mm-hmm.
If it's pulling at your heartstrings, if it really is resonating with you, just pull it back a second and go, why is this one the one I'm seeing all the time more now? Mm-hmm. And just always kind of try to see it. I think there's a lot of smart people that are on the front lines. Like, I'm in Vancouver, I can't do anything. Mm-hmm. Like, fuck, man. I imagine if I was in one of the frontline cities in DC and something like this they really were trying to burn down the White House. They really were trying to get in there, because that is a statement. Mm-hmm. That's a statement. Trump is making the statement by doing this. The people, the symbolism, if they could have charged the White House, mm-hmm. would be fucking phenomenal. Mm-hmm. You know, like, so I don't know. It's not planned, but I pray that there's so much information built. There's so much stuff out there that, fuck, man, they can do it. They can,
yeah.
You know.
So a quick conspiracy to what you just said there, burn the White House. So they rioted obviously yesterday, and the church across the road there was burning. If you notice a few things about it, is the sign that tells you what happens in the daytime of the church, full glass shield, not broken. The only thing that burnt in that church was a nursery. The nursery is years old. It's new. It's probably the newest part of the church. It's the only thing that was on fire in that church, and they put it out right away. So the conspiracy behind that for me is like, it's a statement that would happen today. Because what did he do after his speech? I'm going to go somewhere special and pray. And then he walked across the street after destroying peaceful protests with all these people outside, like pepper spray, rubber bullets, everything, got them out of the way so that he could go there and hold a Bible in front of a church that everyone's saying he probably hasn't been in a church in fucking 20 years. And that was his thing. Mm-hmm. So that's the only conspiracy that I actually would say, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay, 2 questions, then we'll wrap it up, okay? So I'll let Marlon start. I was actually going to ask, like, what do you guys think about the difference between, you know, the peaceful protests, the rioters, the looters? Like, what are your views on and thoughts about that? I'll let Marlon start.
I'm out of this one because you already know my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Sorry, guys.
That's fair.
I went all in.
Yeah. We know where you stand for the rest of the convo.
Peaceful protest. I think peaceful protest has to happen. It does happen, and it happens. And I'll use the example of the Vancouver riots. I've been to both. I was at both of them. I was in, was it 94?
94.
Yeah, 94. And then after me and Jay played our last intermission, when the Bruins beat us, he left and I left, and then I watched the city burn after that. What I noticed at both of those, and what I noticed at these ones that you can see on TV, and what gets people going, is the management of how the police department actually handles protesters, shoving people, hitting people, anything like that. You can see in some of the states where some of the cops, like Minnesota's done it, Minnesota's done it now, where they've, like, sheriff is thrown down his shit and it's like, no, I'm with you guys. Let's do this, and let's march together, and let's be positive with this, and let's get it. I think if more of the police departments took that stance, they wouldn't be able to get the agitators to be agitated, or at least the people that are peacefully protesting, because you're seeing that too. You're seeing people that are peacefully protesting now protesting the people that are trying to agitate and break into buildings, and you're seeing it a lot more this time. From what I'm noticing, they're blocking, Target. I saw one outside of a Target. I've seen people that are breaking stones on the ground and the crowd grabs that individual and actually hands them over to the police.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is, there's people that want to incite, but if the police department wasn't wearing the batons, wasn't wearing the shields, and was actually there and said, you know what, no, we're here for you, and we're going to take a knee with you, and we're going to do this with you, then that larger crowd would mass together, and it wouldn't give the energy to the fucking hoodlums that want to do stupid shit. And I'm not saying, there's a lot of conspiracy in that too, but a lot of videos I see, sure, you see a lot of black people running into these stores taking stuff because that's where these stores are. But you can also see a lot of white people, like literally breaking windows. You know, I mean, I countless videos of watching people walking around, smashing windows, doing stupid ass shit, vandalizing cars, and then like getting the herd mentality going, oh fuck yeah, and they're salivating and they're going in and they're super hyped because once you're in a mob, that's kind of the frenzy. Like when the last one that I was in Vancouver here, obviously, and I remember I was at Caprice Lounge, Nate. I was there. That was when we closed down all of Caprice. I remember I walked out by the Megabyte there, and nothing was really going on yet. It was just Granville Street was kind of empty, and right by the Megabyte, they had a line of cops. Everyone was chill, like everyone was just like, oh, okay, whatever, and they started beating their thing, and everyone was like, whatever, and it turned into full on like tear gas, beating people. There was a guy that like broke his leg that was sitting outside that we had to grab, and we pulled inside. And I just feel that like if they hadn't come with that energy of like that vibe of like, let's just destroy shit, like fuck the system, let's go, you know, like that wouldn't have happened in Vancouver. It's like when a cop's on your back and he's saying, give me your hand, stop resisting. Like, I don't know how many of you guys been in a fight, but like you can't just lay there and let someone play with your arms. I got punched by a cop after telling a girl on Granville Street after I played at Caprice one night. Because they were manhandling her on the ground, like to the point where I was like, I can't stand watch this. I was like, yo, let her the fuck go. You're fucking hurting her. Like, stop. And the cop was like, fuck you, get out of here. And I'm like, no, fuck you. And he sucker punched me. And I was like, oh, you're a big tough guy. And he's a big cop, but I don't give a shit. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll leave. And as I leave, I'm like, fuck you. And he's like, you're going to jail. And when he grabbed me and he grabbed my arm, I'm pretty flexible. He's got me in my arms here. And I'm like, your natural reaction is to jerk back because your body's not used to that. Mm-hmm. So when you do things like beat on people and tell them to like relax, all you're doing is inciting more aggression out of them. If you're going into a riot situation like today in front of the White House, they sat there and they were doing peaceful things. And all of a sudden, now the attorney general comes out and he's like a little general. Okay, we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden he leaves. And literally at 6:30, when Trump was supposed to go on air, they started tear gassing, rubber bullets, all these people who were super like chill. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden they're like, want to fight the cops. Well, what do they expect? What do you expect?
That's a tactic.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
For sure.
I don't know. That's just the way to incite these things. And they have the level of actually stopping it, but they choose not to. They actually want that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe it makes them more money or something. I don't know. But fuck them.
April?
Drink a beer.
I think the varying degrees of how police departments are handling it is exactly that, very varied. And in New York, seeing friends be a part of the protests there, a lot of them start very peacefully and then they end up in riots. And some of them have started that way, like the rioting has started because of actually the cops. Like, have you seen that video of the cop car actually driving through the crowd? Yeah. Crazy. They weren't doing anything. They were protesting, but they weren't being violent, and they fucking drive the car through the crowd. There was another peaceful protest where they're literally all on their knees, kneeling and cheering, and then the cops just rushed them all again in New York. So then you see the other side of things where you have cops, taking off their helmet and like standing with people. And so I think I want to say that I still believe Trevor Noah said it best in that his video was explaining there's no right way to protest because protesting is going against the system. So, Colin Kaepernick tried kneeling. We tried peaceful protesting. They tried rioting. They tried absolutely everything. And no matter what, there's never going to be a right way to protest. Mm-hmm. So all of this stuff is necessary. I think they're all necessary evils. If you look at all the big riots that happened in the past, like Stonewall, like Boston Tea Party, all the change happened after cities were literally burned to the ground, after all this violence, all this shit. Like it's just a part, I think, of the revolution. Mm-hmm. But I hope that this is the one that sticks.
Yeah, fair. Joss?
Yeah, I truly don't know if I understand human psychology enough to comment on what's the right way to protest is. I've been at a couple protests in my life, and I'm there because I believe that you're either a part of the problem or you're not. And I want to be on the right side of history, and I believe what's right is right. And to me, I just don't understand. I truly do not understand in all of this. The one thing of it that I don't understand, the one side that I don't understand is the police brutality side of things. It's just atrocious to me, and I don't know. I don't get it. I do not get it, and that's pretty much all I got to say.
We're skipping past Phil, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you guys all said it really well.
That's very real.
I mean, there's no rules to protesting. I mean, the whole thing is you're speaking your voice. You want people to see and hear you. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the rioting. I mean, I kind of grew up on the whole peace and love kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of my thing, has always been peace and love and democracy, voting. I mean, that's what will change. But yeah, I mean, whatever it needs to get the job done, because it is like how everyone said it today is like, it is a tipping point. And what are you supposed to do now? Like, what more can be done? Right? Like, a man was killed on TV, like pretty much doing nothing, absolutely nothing, for was a $20 check or something. It was fraud check or something, and he lost his life.
$20 bill.
Yeah, it was a fake $20 bill. Like, a man lost his life for that. Like,
that turned out not to be fake, by the way.
Yeah,
for real.
And then that I can't compute, but like, to protest right at this moment in time, I would say by any means necessary.
Yeah.
Whatever to get the point across, so people see. If you have to burn the city down, burn the city down. I mean, you have to. Like, people need to listen. People need to open their eyes and realize there is a problem in the States.
It's a revolution. You can't lose.
Yeah.
I just have one thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Both with the finger. Both with the finger. Shut up.
I think the one thing I agree about voting and that to be your weapon, for you to voice your opinion. I think what's really hard about that, especially in the States, is voter suppression.
Right.
Specifically around the Black community, right? Like how they change the laws so that it's challenge. They make it harder for people to vote.
And that's the thing. Killer Mike, sorry to cut you off, but Killer Mike was fill out your census cards. Let the government know you are a person. You exist. Right?
Even if they do that, there's still voter suppression that happens. They still move the voting booth so far away, and they make it very hard for people to vote in the states that they know are important. So I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, they do that, absolutely. But it's, it's getting more and more alarming to me what people will allow the government to get away with. They're not getting away with this finally, hopefully, cool, but people won't mobilize for something like that for whatever reason. And when you're dealing with people of color and people that have been suppressed and oppressed their entire lives and generations, there's so much skepticism in the system because it's the same fucking system that's held you down. So why do you feel like any comfort in that, or that anything's going to change? Because you're like, well, I want my vote to count. How do I do that? You got to do X, Y, Z. You have to mail this in. You have to show up here. And it's just like, well, fuck. I understand, the apathy is as little as I agree with it, because it is, again, the number one thing that a person can do for themselves in even a fucking half-assed democracy like the US. And on your question, Jason, I mean, I just feel like the rioting is just a byproduct. It's a little bit of collateral damage. It doesn't matter when you look at the full context of things. It just, whatever, man. So there's some people that just are in it for the looting and whatever. That's like a small percentage. What you're seeing is bottled up rage initially. And fuck it, I don't care if some targets get burnt down. I don't care.
Just say that.
Yeah, that's a blip. That's not even like stubbing. That for those corporations, bro. Like, I don't know if you guys saw what happened in the market today. The market went up today.
Yeah, dude, they don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter.
No one
right?
cares.
That's what insurance companies are for.
But it's more than just those big corporations. Like there are small mom and pop shops that are getting vandalized in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, like in all these places. Like those ones are by immigrants or by people of the community that are, abiding by all the rules or not. So I think that's a very unfortunate side effect of all of this. I agree with corporations. You're right. They're insured fucking buildings. They can get the money back. I did appreciate Target's response to all the rioting and and saying, you know, that they understand and that they're bringing supplies out to the rioters and like supporting them and they get it. But yeah, I don't know. I think I agree that it is definitely a byproduct of all of that. I think there are also other ways to get the message across, but I don't think that that's going to go away. The thing that pisses me off the most are people that are fucking totally lying. Like there is a guy that said, "Oh, I got beaten up by 2 black guys."
The bow and arrow.
He had a fucking bow and arrow. He literally had a bow and arrow.
That shit was crazy.
And so you get that as well, right? You get blatant liars, and exactly, Ria, what you were saying. Will Smith said it. It's that racism has always existed. It's just now it's getting filled. Like, and people are filming everything now, which is good. It shouldn't be the cops with the body cams. It should be every other person, especially black people with body cams, so that people can see what the reality is.
Fair.
There's a catch with the body cams of cops during protesting where I don't know if it's only in Seattle, but they're instructed to turn it off so that in respect of the protesters not to see the face. So it's like,
oh yeah. There you go.
Oh, what a
That's some slick shit right there.
Any final comments from anybody?
Oh, I want to add just on this little thing. This will be my final comment as well.
Sure.
Just about the cops thing and the person that got at me on the Twitter thing. This other woman, she kept tagging me in like those instances where cops were nice, like the sheriff and shit. You know, walk with me and all this shit. And then someone responded to her with, so I don't, they're like, I don't get it. So cops that you think like they deserve praise for being normal and like not violent. They deserve praise for just being like how they're supposed to be. Like, doesn't make any sense. So anyway.
And can I just say one more comment about that? You know, people, they always say, or the main argument is, oh, those are just a few bad apples. It doesn't represent all cops. Well, let me tell you, if there's one bad apple in 100 cops and there's 99 other cops that are complicit and don't say shit, they're just as bad as the fucking one bad apple.
Right.
Yeah. I saw a dope, one bad apple thing today. It's the best one. Ready? If there was literally...
Phil's about to tell a dad joke.
Yeah. If there was literally some bad apples, like if there's bad apples, then they would recall all the apples.
Fair.
Dope. Bars.
Like that.
Yeah.
They do that with lettuce all the time. When there's bad lettuce, they
exactly.
recall it.
So this fucking saying that everyone's using is like, well, if you apply it literally, then fucking they would recall everybody.
That's a bar.
Okay.
That's a bar. We're getting into rap. Nice.
So listen, I want everyone to just take a deep breath right now. Literally just
yoga.
Take a deep breath. We just spoke for 2.5 hours on a super deep topic. I appreciate everyone's time. And my last roundup question, since this is a Dice Lemons at the end of the day, I want you guys to name one thing that makes you happy and a song or an artist or something that just always gets you in the mood to just get ready for life and go. So for example, I will go first. Okay.
Please.
One thing that always makes me happy is talking to my grandmother. She has so much knowledge. She's in the Caribbean. She's like 90 years old and she's still with the shits. Always a good time to talk to her. And the artist or music or whatever, anything Kaytranada. Anything Kaytranada. But just get me in the mood, get me out of bed, get me grooving. I'm just, you know what I mean? If I'm having a bad day, I'm popping in some Kaytranada. So that is mine.
Grooving.
It gets me grooving. So,
all right.
Riaz, what you got?
All right. Final thoughts as well, and I'll answer your question, Jason. I've always learned knowledge is power. And today, listening to everyone on this panel and taking in knowledge from everyone's stories feels like it makes me more responsible of what's happening, what's going on out there. And I appreciate every single one of you for allowing me today to hear your stories. One thing that makes me happy, all of you, man, all of you had just amazing trains of thoughts, and listening to you guys today on a different level of not how we usually communicate and stuff like that. So this was super dope.
Nice.
And what was the second part? Oh, song. I mean, fuck, I saw J. Cole out there protesting, man. I was fucking with that because I'm kind of pissed off at Kendrick right now because he hasn't said a damn word.
Yeah.
So,
no pun intended with that one.
Yeah.
All right, Nate, what you got?
Well, I want to say thank you for hosting this and thank you all for sharing. Like you said, Rio, I've known a lot of you guys for a lot of years, and we've never had a conversation like this. What makes me happy every day is my daughter. She's just like, I can't wait till she wakes up every morning. And probably the single joint that gets me going the most, it would be Joy and Pain by Frankie Beverly and Maze.
Nice.
That's like go-to, can't fail.
Nice.
Or Peg by Steely Dan. But
nice. All right, Marlon.
Well, thank you for having me. I thought Dice Lemons honestly was a drinking thing. That's why I was drinking beer, because I know you guys drink.
Floetic, the new Noriega.
I was like, I'm watching anyway. No, the thing that makes me the happiest the most is really just my kids. I think Nate hit it as well. It's such the thought of my kids is what puts a huge smile on my face. I could be having the worst day, and I just think like, hey, my kids, and boom, I'm out of it. Mm-hmm. Music for me, no pun intended on this, is Music Soul Child. Nice. I think he got me through my son being born and me going to firefighting school and a bunch of other stuff. So he's always been my guy, or Stevie. I mean, really, at the end of the day, but yeah.
All right, Rachel.
Yeah. I'm going to have some final thoughts as well. First, thank you for having us on this. I think it was really insightful and impactful, and thank you everyone that else is on here to share that you shared your stories. I think having those shared experiences is really powerful and allows me to grow more. And I agree, Rio, knowledge is power. On my closing thoughts, I think all the listeners out there, there are things that you can do. You know, I don't want anyone to feel helpless. It's more like everyone's saying, to just more than just sharing on social media. Mm-hmm. You can organize, you can protest, you can donate, you know, to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, there's NAACP. Like, there's so many great associations and organizations out there that can help continue the cause and keep that momentum going. The other piece is education and educating your kids. Kids are the future. So being able to teach racism and race topics and bringing that up to kids when they're younger, so that they understand what it means. Mm-hmm. I think there has to be a big change in the education systems that teaches it in school. We learn about sex ed. Why can't we learn about racism and all that? And lastly, I think it's important for everyone to check their own privilege. You know, we're all in our own ways privileged in who we are today and what we have, you know, that we have the homes that we're in and the family and all of that. So I think it's important to have that so that you can have empathy for others and understand where other people come from. So I really appreciate today's conversation because it allows me to get more insight into every one of your lives. In terms of what makes me happy, talking with my niece and my nephew. Actually, any kids, if I'm ever feeling really shitty, I just look at babies on Instagram and it just makes me smile. It's to the point where my Instagram Explore page, is just Asian babies eating stuff.
Amazing.
Perfect.
That's
great.
Yeah, that's cool.
I need that. I gotta holler at Instagram.
And
I
then
can't do that.
And the songs are the person that makes me, like, puts me in a good mood. Bill Withers, rest in peace. Lovely Day. Every time I hear that song, it just puts me in a really good mood.
Nice. Oh yeah, Joss.
Yeah, like, geez. Okay, yeah, April, just to build on your point, like, yo, if we're on this call, we have a fucking computer. That's crazy. You know, like, that's literally crazy. You know, like, I think we gotta acknowledge those type of facts too. But music, Pac, Do for Love, is like the ultimate. Any mood, incredible. In terms of music that makes me happy, is probably, I don't know, man, anything Gold Link gets me going, of course. And yeah, like actual things that make me happy. I mean, like, I'm definitely the young one of the group, so I don't have any kids or anything like that. But for me, the happiest that I am in life are moments when either someone older than me puts their arm around my neck and goes, "Hey, fucking come here and let me tell you something," and me going, "Fuck, I didn't think about that." Or moments where I'm teaching someone to, some kid who's fucking clueless, and I'm like, "Hey, listen, can you just listen? I know you're looking at it this way. Can you just look at it that way for a second?" And them looking at it that way and seeing them actually grow is like the most fulfilled I've felt in life, whether that's, I don't know, intellectually or physically or whatever, just helping that and really, really working with that camaraderie. And I do believe that the world grows on a one-to-one basis. And so that's what fires me the fuck up. And that's my music. And yeah, like a shouts to all of you, because like, dude, so many people are super uneducated and feel like they need an opinion. And we need people like you, all of you, to be like, just have the patience to pass knowledge, because a lot of the younger generation doesn't even want to ask. And I know a lot of the older generations like, fuck these kids. And it's like, we need that communication to happen so badly from people that we respect. So anyways, I just appreciate you guys for having a conversation, and look up to y'all, and thank you guys for the time.
Nice. Mr. Flipout, so round it up.
Thanks, Jay, for doing this. This is super cool. Went so long. Oh my god.
This is long.
Yeah, we went pretty deep.
Pretty sure my was broken into.
That was cool. Hearing about everyone's experiences growing up. That was cool. I didn't know that. I don't even know April. So nice to meet you. But this whole time, Marlon, I thought you were named by your mom.
The biggest takeaway.
No, that's always been the story. I've told you that, but you're probably too drunk to remember. Just kidding.
Probably, but I learned something about each of you that I actually didn't know. Yeah, I think I just, I want people that look like me to wake the fuck up, and I want them to be shocked when I speak to them, and I want them to really get the message, because I'm not mincing words, not gonna sugarcoat them at all. So I just hope people just like get a little more educated, because it just makes it'll better your life. You know what I mean? Like, honestly,
for sure.
The thing that like, I'm way older than you, Joss. I don't have kids, so.
Hey, listen, man.
I love my favorite song, and then the thing that I love are kind of intertwined, because I guess I love music and I love playing it for people. And I hate to say like I love records, because it's like a physical like thing that can burn in a fire and I'll lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not supposed to give a shit about it, so I don't care about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I still love music. I love the communication through music. How about that? And
That Luther?
Is that a record?
That's a new age record.
You're a record. That's Luther.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this video is awesome because there's Walkmans in it.
Tight.
So anyway, yeah, this song. And I didn't even grow up with this song. Like, I learned about this song like way late. And I was like, oh, I love this song.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, I really appreciate your time. Like I said, thank you for sticking around, even though it went a lot longer than I expected. I wish you guys peace and love. And if you guys ever want to chat about anything, actually, all of you have my number. What am I saying? Yeah, man.
Wow.
Be safe.
4. You had 4 beers.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Look at that liquor cabinet behind there, though. Oh my gosh.
Marlon, if you want to
Stay away from my booth.
Marlon, if you want to FaceTime me and drink later, feel free.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm here. We could talk shit. and lift some spirits. But I appreciate you guys. Be safe, and let's you know, try and uplift everybody, man. Take care, man.
Peace
Take
out.
care. See you.
Cheers.